The white-robed Buddha entered the scarlet cloud world. He didn't immediately head to the cultivate diligently become a mortal mountain, but wandered around the mortal world. The white-robed Buddha entered the scarlet cloud world. He didn't immediately head to the cultivate diligently become a mortal mountain, but wandered around the mortal world. Since he wasn't in a hurry, Hanju wasn't either. He could kill him instantly anyway. He continued to cultivate. The white-robed Buddha really began to promote his cultivation technique. However, this fellow did not promote Buddhist techniques, but Tao techniques instead. Hanju saw his actions through the heavenly Tao token while cultivating, and couldn't help but be speechless. What a traitor! Hanju found it funny. Could it be that he doesn't want to find the Supreme Buddha, and is just delaying time? After all, he's a spy from the Tao sect's Chan school. Hanju was enlightened. This made sense. Was the white-robed Buddha not afraid of being deduced by the heavenly Tao Buddha? Hanju couldn't figure it out, and could only continue to watch. In the blink of an eye, 20 years passed. The Tao techniques of Chan school began to flourish in the scarlet cloud world. Many sects of the Chan school appeared in the various states. Although they didn't cause a stir in the cultivation world, Hanju could see the white-robed Buddha's arrangements through the heavenly Tao token. Hanju didn't mind. There were all sorts of sects in the cultivation world. So what if there was one more Chan school? It was fine as long as it didn't affect him. On this day, the white-robed Buddha came to the cultivate diligently become a mortal mountain, and wanted to visit the people on the mountain. Unfortunately, no matter how he shouted, no one responded. The white-robed Buddha frowned. A disciple of the Jade Pure Sacred Sect, kneeling in front of the stone tablet said, "Stop shouting. This is an immortal mountain. How can you go up as you wish?" The other kneeling disciples mocked. The white-robed Buddha shook his head and laughed. A group of mortals was truly ridiculous. Updated from Light Novel World. He flashed to the Fusang tree. Everyone under the tree immediately opened their eyes. Longhao stood up and asked in a low voice, "What are you doing?" The Black Hell Chicken, the three-headed WRM King, Tu Linger, Zhou Mingyue, Sun Chang'an, Chu Shuren, and the two golden crows opened their eyes. The white-robed Buddha scanned the area and was shocked. Golden Crow, Ancient Spiritual Ginseng, Supreme Buddha, Heavenly Emperor Aura, and that demon saint. He was truly shocked. What the hell was this place? Why were there so many Providence bearers gathered? He knew the Ancient Spiritual Ginseng, and had interacted with it before. Longhao's Heavenly Emperor Aura was too strong. He also looked like the Heavenly Emperor. White-robed Buddha's heart sank. No wonder the Heavenly Tao Buddha had given him the Tathagata Buddha staff. White-robed Buddha, why are you here? Sun Chang'an asked solemnly. Back in the Buddhist sect, he was only a pet, or even a slave. In the past, he had to look up to the white-robed Buddha. The white-robed Buddha smiled. "I'm here to fetch Buddha." "Buddha?" Sun Chang'an's expression changed drastically. The others were also stunned. Who was the Buddha? They immediately thought of Hanju. He had always been very mysterious to them. Master is a Buddha? How is that possible? Sun Chang'an was shocked. If Hanju was the Buddha, wouldn't he have been fooled by the Buddhists? At this moment, the white-robed Buddha looked at Chu Shuren and asked with a smile, "Buddha, are you coming back?" Swoosh, everyone looked at Chu Shuren. Zhou Mingyue was pleasantly surprised. "My master is a Buddha?" Chu Shuren was stunned. "How can I be Buddha? Don't slander me." Could it be that the one he encountered in his dream was Buddha? "He can't go with you. Leave." Hanju's voice floated out of the cave abode. The white-robed Buddha couldn't help but turn to look at the Khanate cave abode. His divine sense couldn't enter it. The Tao field could block divine senses below the deity realm. The reason why the white-robed Buddha could enter was that Hanju didn't activate the defensive array formation of the Tao field, because the disciples often went out. "Who are you? You shouldn't be an ordinary mortal world immortal, right?" The white-robed Buddha asked with a smile, full of curiosity about Hanju. Hanju's voice floated out. "If not for the fact that you're not truly with the Buddhist sect, I wouldn't have let you into the mortal world, and would have killed you already." With that said, the white-robed Buddha's expression changed drastically. What did he mean? The white-robed Buddha pretended to be calm and smiled. "Amitabha, why would I not be with the Buddhist sect? Are you sure you want me to expose it? Remember, There's always someone listening. At this moment, the white-robed Buddha could no longer remain calm. He didn't dare to ask further. He asked in a low voice, "Who are you?" "Eastern Wu Divine World, Sun Quan." The white-robed Buddha frowned. Where was the Eastern Wu Divine World? To be able to call itself a divine world, it must be extraordinary. If you don't leave in 3 breaths, you can stay here for good. Hanju's voice sounded. The white-robed Buddha instinctively sensed danger and hurriedly vanished. The others looked at each other. Zhou Mingyue muttered in surprise, "Isn't Master called?" The black-hell chicken glared and scolded him. "Shut up. What do you know? Master is doing this to avoid unnecessary trouble." Zhou Mingyue was instantly enlightened. At the end of the world, the white-robed Buddha appeared in the forest, panting heavily. That feeling just now. The other party is an immortal emperor? The source of this content is Light Novel World. The white-robed Buddha was covered in a cold sweat. When Hanju's reincarnation sword intent locked onto him, he felt the aura of death. Sun Quan of Eastern Wu Divine World. There are indeed many hidden talents in the world. The white-robed Buddha sighed. He didn't have any hatred towards Hanju. It was obvious that the other party didn't want to cause trouble. So he didn't attack. He didn't want to invite the Supreme Buddha back, and was only putting on a show anyway. Now it wasn't that he didn't want to, but that he couldn't. The white-robed Buddha was very interested in Sun Quan now. How many factions had the Heavenly Court befriended? Forget it, I'll hide here and cultivate. I'll become an immortal emperor first. Fortunately, the Heavenly Emperor knows my identity. The white-robed Buddha thought silently, and walked in a direction. White-robed Buddha has a favorable impression of you. Current favorability. 2 stars. When Hanju saw the line of words in front of him, a huge question mark appeared in his mind. Wait, so he's an ally? No wonder Divine Lord Wuda had let the white-robed Buddha in. The Heavenly Court and Chan School were colluding? Hanju wanted to take out the Heavenly Dao token and ask, but he was afraid that it would be disadvantageous to him if he knew too much. That's right. I'm on good terms with the Dao Sect's Chan School. I've long known about the white-robed Buddha's identity, but this matter cannot be made public. Don't tell Taibai either. As for the white-robed Buddha, let him stay in the Scarlet Cloud world. He can still help you. The Heavenly Emperor's voice entered his ears, just as he had guessed. Hanju took a deep breath and nodded. Wow, these big shots really knew how to play. They even hid it from their trusted aides. The Heavenly Court had spies from other factions, and the Buddhist sect also had spies from the Heavenly Court? Dao Comprehension Sword asked curiously. Master, is Chu Shuren really a Buddha? She remembered that Hanju said that Long Hao didn't have the greatest background in her previous life. Hanju closed his eyes and said, Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Cultivate well. I hope that you can help me block the intruders one day. Dao Comprehension Sword couldn't help but feel ashamed, and didn't dare to ask further. From then on, the white-robed Buddha continued to walk the mortal world, and impart his teachings. Hanju still paid attention to prevent the white-robed Buddha from causing trouble. Visit to Light Novel World. Discover new novels. 30 years later, Hanju sensed something and opened his eyes. He took out the Heavenly Dao token. It burned and shook in his hands. Read at Wuxia World. EU. What's happening? What's happening? Hanju frowned, and probed the Heavenly Dao token with his divine sense. Fortunately, his cultivation level was high enough. This heat did not affect him. Soon, Hanju's divine sense arrived in front of the Heavenly Dao tablet. He checked and was shocked. Number 763. The ranking was still rising. What happened? Hanju hurriedly observed the Scarlet Cloud world. The number of body integration and tribulation transcendence realm cultivators had increased exponentially over the years. Mahayana realm cultivators were also continuously emerging. Not long after, Hanju caught sight of the white-robed Buddha. This fellow was preaching to thousands of cultivators on a tall mountain. These cultivators were at least at the body integration realm, and some people broke through one after another. Not only that, but cultivators also rushed over to listen. No wonder the providence of the Scarlet Cloud world had increased so quickly. As the providence of the world continued to increase, Hanju clearly felt that his providence was also increasing. Dai Bai had said that to break through to the immortal emperor realm, one needed a powerful providence. Isn't providence here already? Han Ju felt the distress of happiness. On one hand, he was afraid that the Scarlet Cloud world would attract attention, but on the other hand, he enjoyed the increase in providence. Forget it. He would cultivate first. Han Ju put down the Heavenly Tao token and continued cultivating. He was getting closer and closer to the late stage of the reincarnation golden immortal realm. After reaching the late stage, he would be closer to perfection. If he reached the perfected reincarnation golden immortal realm, would the immortal emperor realm be far away? After reaching the immortal emperor realm, wouldn't he be close to the deity realm? You can find the rest of this content on the light novel world.com platform. Was reaching the deity realm still a dream? Han Ju thought about it and became excited. He was full of fighting spirit. When Han Ju was still cultivating, the heaven and earth spirit chi increased with the providence of the heavenly Tao. Everyone was celebrating. This wasn't the first time the providence of the world had increased greatly. The mighty figures of the Holy Lands declared that this was the grace of the heavenly Tao. An unprecedented golden age had arrived. Almost every few years, a prodigy would appear, each with their own style. The demonic path had declined, and the cultivation world welcomed an era where sex competed. There was no competition for morality, only strength. The Jade Pure Sacred Sect was relatively peaceful. No sect dared to provoke them. The white-robed Buddha preached to the world, and also gained a reputation. Many temples and statues of the white-robed Buddha even emerged among the people. By enjoying the offerings of the mortal world, the white-robed Buddha's providence was constantly increasing. 28 years later, 3 lines of words appeared in front of Han Ju, who was cultivating. Detected that you are 2,000 years old, and your life has taken another step forward. You have the following choices. 1. Immediately ascend and become famous in the immortal world. You can obtain a heavenly Tao spirit stone, a mystical power inheritance, and a supreme treasure. 2. Don't ascend for the time being. Follow your Tao heart. You can obtain a mystical power inheritance and a great Tao fragment. Han Ju opened his eyes and was curious. What was a great Tao fragment? He immediately chose not to ascend. You chose not to ascend for the time being. You obtained a mystical power inheritance and a great Tao fragment. Congratulations on obtaining mystical power. 5 elements divine light. 5 elements divine light. Ancient mystical power with extremely strong attack power. It can forcefully snatch the enemy's Dharma treasure and forcefully break through the array formation. Congratulations on obtaining the Great Tao Fragment. Great Tao Fragment. After gathering 9 Great Tao Fragments, you will sense the Great Tao and obtain a Supreme Tao Technique. Supreme Tao Technique? It sounded impressive, but it was useless now. The system was indeed modeled after a game as its foundation. It was quite grindy. Han Ju thought silently and chose to inherit the 5 elements divine light. The 5 elements divine light wasn't a sword Tao mystical power. Thus, it took Han Ju several days to master it. This mystical power was indeed powerful. Han Ju activated the simulation trial and used the 5 elements divine light to fight the white-robed Buddha. Although he couldn't kill the enemy instantly, with this mystical power, he could easily kill the white-robed Buddha. It's too powerful. Han Ju was very excited. He liked such straightforward mystical powers. Although his talent in the sword Tao was outstanding, he didn't love the sword. He had obtained that aptitude after re-rolling, but it wasn't the one he wanted. In order to celebrate obtaining this mystical power, Han Ju took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing the enemies. He checked his emails. Nothing happened. After Mo Zhu and Mo Fuzhou ascended, everything went smoothly. They weren't attacked. Under the sea of clouds, a lone mountain peak floated in the sky. At the top of the mountain was a huge building without a ceiling. The walls were surrounded in a circle, like a beast-fighting arena. Huge and sinister stone statues were erected on all sides. There was a huge stone tablet erected in the square, with a half-naked man tied to it. It was Feng Liang. Feng Liang's hair was disheveled, and he was covered in injuries. On the steps at the edge of the square stood cultivators, all of them looking nervous and waiting. On the high wall to the east was a pavilion. In front of the balcony sat a middle-aged man dressed in expensive-looking clothes. His eyes were sharp. "I wonder if he can succeed," a yellow-dressed girl beside the middle-aged man muttered, looking at Feng Liang with worry. The middle-aged man snorted. "He was chosen by our ancestor. He naturally won't fail. However, we still have to spend the effort to make him submit to us. Exainer, are you willing to marry him?" Hearing this, the girl in yellow blushed and nodded shyly. The middle-aged man looked down at Feng Liang expressionlessly. "Where did this kid come from? He can actually withstand our ancestors' divine power." The middle-aged man was secretly shocked. He looked at Feng Liang with jealousy. Although he was jealous, he knew that he had to please Feng Liang in the future. He would be the hope of their race's revival. Follow current novels on Light Novel World. Kama! Tied to the stone tablet, Feng Liang suddenly let out a shrill roar like a ferocious beast, scaring everyone on the steps. Feng Liang suddenly raised his head. His eyes were bloodshot, and a vertical eye appeared on his forehead. It was a strange dual pupil eye. It had been 10 years since he had learned the 5 elements divine light. Hanju suddenly felt Ditai's divine sense fluctuation from the heavenly Tao token, and immediately took it out. "Your grand disciple Feng Liang has gone missing," Ditai said. Hanju frowned and asked, "Caught by the demon court? Wasn't Feng Liang enlightened by a mighty figure?" He thought that a mighty figure of the heavenly court had taken him in. "No, he went out to train. He has already left for decades. It has exceeded the time limit he promised to return. I asked the 2 clairvoyants to investigate, but they couldn't find his whereabouts," Ditai said helplessly. Hanju's grand disciples were troublesome. Morongqi also left with the divine general as soon as he entered the heavenly court. Hanju asked, "Even the heavenly emperor can't find him? The world is vast. We can't tell unless the providence of the heavenly court is involved." "All right, I understand. Thank you for your trouble. He's the son of providence. Even in the immortal world, his providence won't be bad. Perhaps the heavens will help him out." After ending the contact, Hanju started to check his interpersonal relationships. Feng Liang's portrait was still there. He continued to check his emails and quickly found Feng Liang's status. "Your grand disciple Feng Liang inherited the delusional evil eye and successfully entered the Grand Unity Heaven Immortal Realm." Grand Unity Heaven Immortal Realm? TSK, he was really fast. Hanju was relieved. It seemed that Feng Liang was fine and had obtained a huge opportunity. It was useless to worry. He couldn't go to the immortal world to find him. The most up-to-date novels are published on Light Novel World. Calm at the critical moment, Feng Liang could still use the invocation technique to invite him over. Read at Wuxia World. EU. Time passed like a white horse passing through a chasm, never to return again. Time passed like a white horse passing through a chasm, never to return again. 100 years passed in a flash. Hanju finally broke through to the late stage of the reincarnation golden immortal realm. His dermic powers surged and his divine sense increased. Hanju's comprehension of heaven and earth deepened. Even in the mortal world, there were many invisible powers. For example, providence, karma, fate, and so on. Compared to these, the power of the law of the 5 elements was considered low tier. After breaking through, Hanju spent nearly half a year raising his sword Dao mystical powers. He began the simulation trial. He killed Jiangyi instantly. The white-robed Buddha was also an instant kill. Against the heavenly emperor, Hanju was insta-killed. The other enemies he had encountered were almost all insta-killed. Awesome. For the time being, he didn't encounter any evenly matched enemies. Then, Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing the enemies while checking his emails. Your grand disciple Feng Liang was attacked by demons, X14002. Your grand disciple Morongqi has obtained a divine armament of the war god. His providence has increased greatly. Your good friend Mo Fujo has joined the Providence Holy Dynasty, and his providence has increased greatly. Your good friend Sword God Emperor was attacked by a mighty figure and was severely injured. Your disciple Su Qi was attacked by the Azura race and was severely injured. Your good friend Long Shan was attacked by a demon saint and fell into the dark forbidden zone. Your good friend Qi Yunxian was attacked by a demon saint and died. The most up-to-date novels are published on Light Novel World. Hanju frowned. Qi Yunxian was actually dead. Qi Yunxian had helped him greatly. Before the Heavenly Court cleaned up the mortal world, he had provided information many times, and was even willing to rope him in. Although there was no substantial help, the favor was still there. Hanju noted this down. He planned on avenging him. Several months later, the curse ended. Hanju took out the Heavenly Dao token and contacted Ditai Bai, asking who had killed Qi Yunxian, the evil WRM king of the demon court. Not only is Qi Yunxian dead, but His Highness Long Shan is also missing. The damned demon court really can't rest for a moment. Ditai Bai replied through gritted teeth. Because of this matter, his head was about to explode. He had to deal with the Heavenly Emperor's anger and appease the gods of the Heavenly Court. Evil WRM King? Hanju remembered this name. Is the Heavenly Court going to be in chaos again? Hanju asked. Ditai Bai replied, not really. There will always be friction. Hanju was relieved after hearing that. If the Heavenly Court wasn't in chaos, he could cultivate in peace. Has the Heavenly Court been cleaned up? Hanju asked curiously. He noticed that some icons in his interpersonal relationships had disappeared. They didn't appear in the emails because he didn't add any special attention to them. It's about time. His Majesty is swift and decisive. The current Heavenly Court has already formed an iron plate. His Majesty is still preparing to carry out the great divine investiture plan and select immortal gods from the myriad worlds. Ditai Bai smiled. He was very excited at the mention of this. The Heavenly Court was about to rise. The great divine investiture plan? Hanju smelled the aura of the investiture of the gods. The Scarlet Cloud world will also participate? Hanju asked. That's right. You can also prepare and nurture some prodigies. The Scarlet Cloud world's current ranking is not bad. Forget it. I'm afraid of trouble. If they are fated, they can rely on themselves. Fine. Follow new episodes on the Light Novel World. Platform. The two of them stopped talking and ended the conversation. Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing the evil WRM king. On the other side, inside the numinous palace, Ditai Bai looked at the high and mighty Heavenly Emperor. Beside him stood a handsome purple-robed man. Your Majesty, he really doesn't have any ambition at all. We helped the Scarlet Cloud world improve in rankings so much, but he still isn't willing to fight for it, Ditai Bai said helplessly. The reason why he revealed the great divine investiture plan was because of the Heavenly Emperor's instructions. The Heavenly Emperor smiled. It's fine. He'll participate. The purple-robed man asked curiously, Father, is that the strongest genius in the Heavenly Court in the past 1,000 years? Yes, you can go visit Howard when you're free. The purple-robed man responded as if he didn't like Long Hao. Ditai Bai asked, Your Majesty, there's something wrong with Marshal Shenpeng's body recently. You have to be careful. I understand. It looks like the Jie school really won't give up. More and more of their disciples have appeared in the immortal world. I guess it won't be long before they take action. The Jie school is the same as the Magus race. Their providence has run out. It's impossible for them to kill their way back. Send some immortals to keep an eye on them. Yes. Hanju cursed the evil WRM king for 10 days in one go, causing his lifespan to decrease by hundreds of years. It was considered a huge loss. Hanju thought silently. Brother Qi Yunxian, I've tried my best. I'll try to deal with your enemy in the future. If we have the chance to meet, I'll definitely kill him. He only felt a little emotional about Qi Yunxian's death, and was not that sad. He didn't have a close relationship with Qi Yunxian. Ever since he had been promoted, the two of them had not interacted. Hanju put down the Book of Misfortune and looked at Dao Comprehension Sword. You've already learned the second level of the Heavenly Sword Dao? Dao Comprehension Sword nodded. She looked calm, but her eyes were smiling. Come here, I'll teach you the third level. Hanju patted the bed beside him. Dao Comprehension Sword immediately walked over. Several days later, Dao Comprehension Sword began to comprehend the third level of the Heavenly Sword Dao. Visit Light Novel World. For the best novel reading experience. Hanju came to the Nine Heavens Galaxy water. Li Yao is still very far from the Scarlet Cloud world. But she had already reached the immortal world. After arriving in the immortal world, she found a place to hide and cultivate. However, not long after, she encountered an invasion by a demon king. She killed the demon king, and was hunted down by the demon saint above the demon king. Thus she left again. Li Yao's encounter made Hanju even more glad. The living beings in the immortal world were even more violent than those in the mortal world. They wanted to fight and kill at the slightest disagreement. They wanted to hunt her down to the ends of the world. It was too unsuitable for cultivation. Hanju sent her a voice transmission. "Are you all right?" It had been a long time since she heard Hanju's voice. Li Yao actually felt a little sad now. She suppressed her excitement and said, "Senior, I'm fine." After experiencing countless tribulations, the Scarlet Cloud world had become her only hope. A place where she could stay away from trouble and cultivate in peace was the paradise she yearned for. Hanju said, "You can join the heavenly court and find a way to meet Ditai Bai. Let him send you to the Scarlet Cloud world. Tell him that I invited you." Li Yao was really too slow at the rate she was traveling. Li Yao asked, "Senior, what's your name?" "Hanju." "Thank you, Senior. I'll definitely join the heavenly court as soon as possible." After knowing that Hanju was related to the heavenly court, Li Yao was even more certain that he wasn't lying to her. In the eyes of mortals, immortals were still very trustworthy. Hanju didn't say anything else. He severed his divine sense and returned to the bed to cultivate. 7 years later, the white-robed Buddha came again. This time, he didn't barge in forcefully, but sent a voice transmission to Hanju above the clouds. "Fellow Taoist Sun Quan, would you like to come out for a chat?" The white-robed Buddha asked respectfully. Hanju asked with a voice transmission, "Why?" "Regarding the great divine investiture plan. I have already selected 100 prodigies. They're worth nurturing. You can take a look." Hanju felt a headache. You can find the rest of this content on the Light Novel World .com platform. It was definitely the Heavenly Emperor's arrangement. If the Heavenly Tao Buddha knew that his subordinate was working for the enemy, he would probably vomit blood. Read at Wuxia World. EU. Fellow Taoist. Fellow Taoist? The white-robed Buddha's voice floated into Hanju's ears again. As he waited for his reply, he was a little puzzled. Was he not good enough? Hanju thought for a moment, and still arrived in front of the white-robed Buddha. When the white-robed Buddha saw him come out, he couldn't help but smile and ask, "Recently, many geniuses have appeared in the Scarlet Cloud world. Even in the immortal world, they're not mediocre." Hanju asked curiously, "Why are you doing your best? Aren't you afraid of being questioned if you don't return to the Buddhist sect?" The white-robed Buddha frowned. "Fellow Taoist, don't you know the truth? The Heavenly Emperor asked me to help you. How can you not know? What I mean is, aren't you afraid that the Buddhists will take their anger out on you? It's fine. Finding the Supreme Buddha is already very difficult. It's very difficult to succeed without hundreds of years. I can delay for a longer time. The Buddha can't deduce matters about me. I have a supreme treasure on me. Then, aren't you afraid of being suspected? They already suspect me. What's there to be afraid of? He sent me here as a test, to begin with." Hanju looked at the white-robed Buddha's confident expression and couldn't help but be speechless. It was too ridiculous. If he were the Heavenly Tao Buddha, he would definitely kill the white-robed Buddha. He had to be careful in the future. He had to prevent a traitor like the white-robed Buddha from appearing in his sect. Hanju thought silently and said, "You can arrange the matter of the prodigies." With the Heavenly Tao token, he wasn't afraid of the white-robed Buddha's tricks. Under the Heavenly Tao, he could monitor the white-robed Buddha at any time, even if he had a supreme treasure. If the white-robed Buddha acted recklessly, he could kill him immediately. "Aren't you going to thank me for helping you?" The white-robed Buddha smiled teasingly. "The source of this content is Light Novel World. .com." Hanju said angrily. "You speak as if you didn't gain anything. I'm allowing you to preach in the mortal world and increase your providence. This is already the greatest favor I can do for you." The white-robed Buddha was speechless because Hanju was right. That's all. Hanju disappeared after saying this. The white-robed Buddha shook his head and laughed. He turned around and left. Hanju didn't return to the Khanate cave abode directly. Instead, he came to the Fusang tree and lectured to the hidden sect disciples. After so many years, these disciples were at least at the tribulation transcendence realm. The spirit chi of the cultivate diligently become immortal mountain was still the richest in the world. At the tribulation transcendence realm, Zhou Mingyue had already made a name for himself. After Morong Qi, he became the new eldest disciple of the Jade Pure Sacred Sect. Taoist Nine Cauldrons was too embarrassed to rope Hanju in, and could only target his grand disciple. It was worth mentioning that Taoist Nine Cauldrons' cultivation level had already reached the second level of the tribulation transcendence realm, and would not face the pain of having no lifespan. Half a year later, Hanju ended the lecture. Longhao said, "Master, I want to learn the heavenly sword Dao." Ever since Dao Comprehension Sword had reached the second level of the heavenly sword Dao, her strength had increased greatly. Longhao coveted that gorgeous sword technique. The Black Hell Chicken added, "I want to learn it too." Hanju said, "This sword Dao is very difficult to learn. The leader of the Heavenly Court's literature immortals, Di Tai Bai, took 1,000 years to master it. This is already an outstanding performance. My potential is not bad," Longhao said seriously, while the Black Hell Chicken was silent. Hanju thought for a moment and said, "Who else wants to learn? I'll teach you all." Sun Chang'an, Zhou Mingyue and Golden Crow Ada raised their hands. Chu Shuren wasn't interested. Tu Linger wasn't good at the sword Dao, and the aptitude of the Golden Crow Xiao Air was limited. Follow new episodes on the Light Novel World .com platform. Hanju smiled and started to teach the first level of the heavenly sword Dao. Several days later, he came to the earth immortal gourd vine. The 7 gourds had already grown to the size of a mortal gourd. Hanju took out a small green jade bottle that contained the ancestral Magus blood essence and injected it into the earth immortal gourd vine. The Golden Crow Xiao Air asked curiously, "Master, what are you doing?" Hanju smiled and said, "Giving it some fertilizer." The others were still comprehending the sword Dao and did not come over. Tu Linger suddenly sensed something and opened her eyes to look at the green jade bottle in Hanju's hand. For some reason her heart raced. What was that? Hanju stared at the earth immortal gourd vine and prayed silently, hoping that the fusion would succeed. This way, he could create 7 ancestral Magus Calabash brothers. Under his gaze, there was nothing unusual about the earth immortal gourd vine. It was fine as long as there were no abnormalities. He was just afraid the earth immortal gourd vine would be ruined. As Hanju was thinking, he suddenly felt something. He raised his right hand, and a red stone appeared in his hand. This was a mysterious stone that Xing Hongxian had given him a long time ago. It was said to have fallen from the sky, and there was a strange aura inside it. Until today, Hanju still couldn't see what this aura was. The red stone trembled violently, wanting to break free from his hand. Hanju hesitated for a moment, but still chose to let go. The red stone quickly flew towards the earth immortal gourd vine and collided with it. Then, it condensed into a red gourd at a speed visible to the naked eye. Read at Wuxia World. EU. Hanju hurriedly checked his interpersonal relationships and found Tai Sutian. Hanju hurriedly checked his interpersonal relationships and found Tai Sutian. It was the portrait of a beautiful woman. Tai Sutian cultivation unknown. A mysterious existence nurtured by the 33-layered heavens. Lives in Niwa Imperial Palace all year round and listens to the sages preach. Under the orders of the sage, she threw the heaven-mending stone into the mortal world of the heavenly court to find a prodigy without a powerful background. Because you refined the heaven-mending stone into a living being and cancelled out its previous providence, Tai Sutian is interested in you. Current favorability, 1 star. Her cultivation level was unknown, so she was an immortal emperor at least. Hanju frowned. Sage. Wasn't Niwa the sage of the Niwa Imperial Palace? It seemed that the Chinese myths were all true. Perhaps Earth was just a corner of the universe. Hanju was a little nervous. The name Tai Sutian sounded very impressive. He wondered if the heavenly emperor could continue to protect him. Should he ask? Hanju immediately took out the heavenly Dao token and contacted Di Tai Bai. Bai quickly connected with his divine sense, and did not neglect him. What is it? Can I speak to His Majesty? As I said, His Majesty is busy every day. Unless it's something important, it's best not to disturb him. I have something private to ask. If it's a private matter, I'll help you resolve it. Hanju cursed silently. Bai was really enthusiastic. I'm here. The Heavenly Emperor's voice suddenly sounded. Hanju was stunned. Bai was also stunned. The two of them cursed in their hearts. Hanju, are you a stalker? Bai, is he the son of the Heavenly Emperor? Bai didn't dare to interfere, and hurriedly severed his divine sense connection. Hanju chased Dao Comprehension Sword out first, before contacting the Heavenly Emperor. Visit Light Novel World. Com for the best novel reading experience, Your Majesty. Do you know about the Nuwa Palace? Hanju asked carefully. The Heavenly Emperor asked in surprise, why? Hanju said, the inheritance I obtained is related to reincarnation. I have a certain understanding of fate. I picked up a stone, and calculated that it came from above the 33 heavens. The Heavenly Emperor fell silent. Seeing that he didn't receive an immediate reply, Hanju's heart skipped a beat. Crap. Was his backing not enough? The Heavenly Emperor said, could that stone be the heaven-mending stone? Hanju asked curiously, what's the heaven-mending stone? It's fine. Cultivate in peace. You're mine. Nuwa Palace will never target you. Nuwa Palace has never fought for fame or fortune. Your Majesty, it's best to be cautious. People change. Yes, I know. Do you have anything else to ask? Then, I won't disturb Your Majesty. When you reach the perfected golden immortal realm, you can come to the heavenly court to find me. I'll think of a way to help you reach the Emperor realm. Thank you, Your Majesty. Hanju cupped his fists and smiled, feeling disdainful. Humph. Trying to lure me into the sky. Impossible. Looks like the Heavenly Emperor was also sent by the Heavenly Tao. You want to destroy my Tao heart? The outcome of the Divine General was still vivid in his mind. He looked majestic, but he was just working hard and was too tired all the time. He could repay the Heavenly Court, but there was no need to work like a donkey and risk his life. Hanju stood up and walked out of the cave abode towards the Fusang tree. The 8 gourds didn't seem to have changed. Hanju scanned with his divine sense and caught their weak soul fluctuations. Updated from Light Novel World. Calm now that they had souls, they were spirits. Not bad. Not bad. Hanju said. The 8 gourds have become spirits. Take care of them. Everyone stood up and surrounded him. Hanju looked at the gourds for a while before returning. It was very difficult for the 8 gourds to transform in a short period of time. He still needed to wait for a while. To celebrate this matter, Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing. At the same time, he checked his emails. Because of your curse, your enemy Heavenly Rage God has lost his Buddhist heart, and his inner demon has transformed him into a demonic Buddha. Your disciple Su Qi was attacked by a cultivator from the Sacred Dynasty, and was imprisoned in the Lux Suppression Prison. Your good friend Zhou Fan slaughtered a cultivation family. His negative karma has increased greatly. Your grand disciple Fang Liang was attacked by a cultivator, X15033. Your good friend Ji Xianxian has comprehended a mystical power. His providence has increased greatly. Your good friend Zhang Guxing was attacked by the Divine Palace Immortal Emperor. Your Dao companion Xian Qingjun is listening to the Tao in the Jie school. Her cultivation has increased greatly. Unfortunately, the evil Wirem King didn't have any interaction with Hanju. Hanju also didn't know how the evil Wirem King was doing. It was fine to spend 5 days every 10 years cursing. Hanju thought silently. He was very curious about Xian Qingjuan's opportunity. The Jie school was an enemy sect of the Heavenly Court. What would happen if they met her in the future? It was worth mentioning that Xian Qingjuan's cultivation had already reached the perfected Grand Unity Heaven Immortal Realm. This breakthrough speed was considered fast. After all, she had obtained an opportunity from the Jie school. After cursing for half a year, Hanju continued cultivating. No matter what, he couldn't mess up his cultivation rhythm. In a Taoist temple, wearing a Taoist robe, Xian Qingjun sat on a mat with several disciples of the Jie school. In front of them was a Taoist nun. The Taoist nun had an indifferent expression as she said, "After the lecture ends, all of you should cultivate well when you return. You're not allowed to leave the island." "Yes," the disciples replied in unison. Then they stood up and bowed, preparing to leave. Xian Qingjun, stay. Xian Qingjun sat down again. Her expression was calm as she waited for her master to speak. The Taoist nun said, "You have joined the Jie school for a period of time. Do you have a Tao companion? Visit to Light Novel World. Come discover new novels." Xian Qingjun replied, "I have a Tao companion in the mortal world. His potential is outstanding, and he's the #1 in the mortal world. He might have already ascended." Hearing this, the Taoist nun frowned slightly and said regretfully, "Then forget it. I still wanted to introduce you to a Tao companion. What a pity." Xian Qingjun smiled. A long time ago, the Jie school was defeated in the immeasurable calamity. Many disciples were imprisoned in the heavenly court. Prepare yourself. Before long, the Jie school will launch a surprise attack on the heavenly court, the Taoist nun continued. Xian Qingjun frowned. Can our Jie school defeat the heavenly court? She had been in the Jie school for some time. She felt that although they had some mighty figures, there were few disciples. The Taoist nun smiled and said, "You underestimate our Jie school. Even the heavenly emperor has to address our sect master respectfully as a senior. The island we're on is only one of the 100,000 islands of the Jie school. Most of the disciples are gathered on the Penglai Immortal Island." Xian Qingjun was enlightened and became even more curious about the Jie school. What kind of force was the Jie school? 30 years later, the 8 gourd spirits had already begun to speak, but they had yet to land and transform. The 7 earth immortal gourd spirits were named by Hanju as Han 1 to Han 7, while the chaotic gourd spirit was named Han 8. The names were simple and easy to recognize. The disciples were speechless, but they didn't dare to refute. The gourds didn't understand the meaning of their names, so they didn't mind. All these years, the cultivation levels of the 8 gourds had been increasing rapidly. They were absorbing immortal qi, not spirit qi. The weakest Han 8 had also stepped into the Mahayana realm not long ago. Their talent was stronger than Hanju's disciples. Compared to Long Hao and Chu Shuren, they were temporarily unable to compare. On this day, in the midst of cultivating, Hanju suddenly opened his eyes. He frowned and muttered, "This aura is..." At the same time, a huge crack appeared in the sky in the distant sea. Lightning interweaved, and the crack was pitch black, like a netherworld abyss. The most up-to-date novels are published on Light Novel World. Come read at Wuxia World. EU. Hanju used the Heavenly Tao token to observe the crack in the sky. Hanju used the Heavenly Tao token to observe the crack in the sky. From the point of view of the Heavenly Tao, the world was a huge sealed space. Now, this sealed space was torn apart by a mysterious force. As a deity of the mortal world, Hanju instinctively felt a sense of danger. Enemy attack. Hanju was about to take action when he saw the white-robed Buddha flash in front of the crack. The white-robed Buddha was surprised. He raised his hands and tried to use his dharmic powers to repair the crack in the sky. At this moment, a strong wind came from the crack, startling the white-robed Buddha into taking out the Tathagata Buddha staff. A terrifying figure slowly stepped out. He was 1,000 feet tall and wore a black robe with 9 dragons imprinted on it. He also wore a hornbone crown and held a sinister long sickle. He smiled sinisterly as his gaze landed on the white-robed Buddha. "This world belongs to me." The white-robed Buddha frowned. After staying in the scarlet cloud world for so long, he had already preached and obtained countless believers. His providence was already connected to it. How could he allow others to trample on the scarlet cloud world? Without another word, the white-robed Buddha raised his staff and struck. Before the black-robed man could react, he was sent back into the crack in the sky. The white-robed Buddha also flew into the crack. Seeing this, Hanju was relieved. This fellow's existence is still necessary. Hanju thought silently, and suddenly felt that white-robed Buddha was quite pleasing to the eye. Now that the white-robed Buddha's providence was tied to the scarlet cloud world, and Hanju was its guardian deity, the two of them were basically tied together. The white-robed Buddha was still very strong. With him protecting the Scarlet Cloud world, Hanju could continue cultivating. Several days later, the white-robed Buddha had just returned from the crack in the sky. His killing intent had yet to dissipate. He turned around and used his dharmic powers to repair the crack in the sky. After more than 10 days, it was finally repaired. The white-robed Buddha heaved a sigh of relief and revealed a satisfied smile before suddenly realizing that something was wrong. If the Scarlet Cloud world was in trouble, why didn't Hanju take action? Follow new episodes on the light novel world.com platform. After the world returned to normal, Hanju took out the Heavenly Dao token and asked Ditaibai why this happened. Ditaibai replied, "There are also competitions in the mortal world. The Heavenly Court has rules with the Divine Palace, the Buddhist sect, and the Demon Court. The mortal worlds can compete freely with each other, and the immortal emperors are not allowed to interfere." Hanju frowned. When did we have such rules? Why didn't we have them before? In the past, the Scarlet Cloud world was too weak. No one cared. In other words, the Heavenly Court doesn't want to interfere. Don't worry. With Divine Lord Wuda around in your faction, anyone below the Immortal Emperor realm will die. Fine. Hanju finally understood that the Heavenly Court was using him as a spear to suppress the experts of the other mortal worlds. No wonder they helped the Scarlet Cloud world increase its providence ranking. This was the plot all along. The Heavenly Emperor had asked the white-robed Buddha to stay behind, probably for this matter. Hanju sighed in his head. It seemed that he couldn't even slack off. The Heavenly Court had nurtured him for so long, it was time for him to repay them. Hanju could only accept it and couldn't refuse. It was still fine now. At the very least, with the white-robed Buddha and Divine Lord Wuda around, there was no need for him to take action for the time being. Hanju held the Heavenly Dao token and probed with his divine sense, preparing to change the name of the world. Qi Yunxian was already dead. Now, Hanju still had to shoulder the karma for the Scarlet Cloud world. In that case, it was better to completely turn it into his own world. What should I call you? A question mark appeared above Hanju's mind. Why not call it the Earth Immortal World? No. This name was stained with great karma. Hanju thought for a moment and changed the name of the Scarlet Cloud world to the Reroll World. After all, he had started from rerolling providences. I'll change it if I find it unpleasant in the future. It was just like changing his online name. Hanju smiled in satisfaction. Then he put down the Heavenly Dao token and started cultivating. You can find the rest of this content on the Light Novel World.com platform. Next, he had to try his best to break through to the perfected reincarnation golden immortal realm. He had to become an immortal emperor as soon as possible. Hanju felt that the immortal emperor was the foundation of the immortal world. Without becoming an immortal emperor, there was no way to play. 40 years later, Hanju had yet to break through. He took out the Book of Misfortune and cursed the enemies. In the past few years, 3 other invasions had occurred, but they were all stopped by the white-robed Buddha. The white-robed Buddha was also a little tired, so he spread the news that this world was targeted by other worlds and hoped that the geniuses would be well prepared. Instantly, the top cultivators felt a sense of danger. The various holy lands began to recruit disciples to increase Reroll World's overall strength. Hanju learned all of this through the Heavenly Dao token. He was very satisfied. The white-robed Buddha was truly a qualified tool. Of course, this fellow definitely had his own ambitions, but Hanju did not care. His main mission was to cultivate, not govern the mortal world. After cursing for a few months, Hanju continued cultivating. A few days later, Dao Comprehension Sword suddenly said, "Something happened to Li Yao." Hanju didn't even open his eyes as he asked, "What is it?" She was caught. Hearing this, Hanju sent his divine sense into the 9 heavens galaxy water. Li Yao was locked in a jade bottle. It was dark all around, and she was stepping on the water. She was using her dharmic powers with all her might to rush out, but there were clearly powerful restrictions around her that prevented her from succeeding. Damn it! Li Yao gritted her teeth, her eyes filled with anger. She didn't give up and continued to search for a way out. Hanju extended his divine sense and discovered that the person who caught Li Yao was a Grand Unity Golden Immortal. He was hurrying on his way to Li Yao, who had just reached the Grand Unity True Immortal realm. The Grand Unity Golden Immortal was like an immortal god that couldn't be defeated. Little girl, stop struggling. Once you're targeted by me, you won't be able to escape. A sinister laugh entered the bottle, causing Li Yao to frown. Who? The sinister voice suddenly shouted warily. Why don't you show yourself? Hearing this, Li Yao was confused. Who is this damned fellow talking to? Wait, could it be Senior? Li Yao was pleasantly surprised. It was normal for Han Ju's divine sense to be captured by the other party. After all, they were at the same realm. Han Ju had to say, Fellow Taoist, give me face and let her live. The sinister voice snorted. Who are you? Tell me your name. Han Ju said, Divine Palace Yu Tianbao. Yu Tianbao? Impossible. Do you think I'm stupid? If you're Yu Tianbao, why would you waste your breath? I'm in the Divine Palace. It's not convenient for me to attack. If I can avoid making enemies, I'll try my best not to. So what if it's the Divine Palace? I have the Demon Court behind me. You want to save her? Then come personally. Han Ju was secretly furious. How arrogant. What? Are you afraid? You're only a golden immortal. Yet you dare to pretend to be a mighty figure. What a joke. I'm definitely taking this girl. Even the Heavenly Emperor can't snatch her from me. The sinister voice sounded again. Han Ju couldn't take it anymore. What a pretentious prick. Han Ju couldn't be bothered to reply. Instead, he sent a voice transmission to Li Yao. I'll teach you a mystical power. You can start learning it now. Li Yao didn't understand, and felt that it was impressive. She hurriedly meditated, and listened to Han Ju's voice transmission seriously. Tsk tisk, that's right. Cultivate in peace. The higher your cultivation level, the more useful you are to me. You will have a future if you follow me. As for that person just now, you saw that he doesn't even dare to argue with me. The sinister voice smiled. Li Yao had already entered a meditative state, and did not answer him. This content is taken from Light Novel World. Calm. Han Ju didn't answer. Just you wait. When I appear in front of you, don't kneel down and beg for mercy. Read at Wuxia World. EU. The sea-shaking elephant saint was in a good mood. It was rare for him to encounter a beautiful woman with outstanding potential, and no background. The sea-shaking elephant saint was in a good mood. It was rare for him to encounter a beautiful woman with outstanding potential, and no background. He was a great demon saint of the demon court, with remarkable abilities. His true form was a savage elephant who had once trampled on an ocean. That was why he was called sea-shaking. He had a fat body, and a mouth full of yellow teeth, leopard eyes, and a wide face. He wore a tiger skin robe, and python scales black armor. He walked above the clouds with the wind beneath his feet, looking majestic. The sea-shaking elephant saint thought of Han Ju's voice, and couldn't help but sneer. And nobody dared to ask him to give him face? It had been many years since he had met such a ridiculous person. Dao Comprehension Sword was furious. Master, that fellow is too arrogant. I'm so angry. This was the first time she heard someone humiliate Han Ju like this. Han Ju ignored her, and focused on teaching the invocation technique. Li Yao's potential was high, and her cultivation level had also increased. It wasn't difficult for her to learn the invocation technique. She was only practicing the summoning method. The truly complicated part was the teleportation technique that Han Ju mastered. After he explained it once, Li Yao easily remembered it. She started to consolidate her memories and made hand seals. Han Ju retracted his divine sense and looked at Dao Comprehension Sword. It's fine. He'll regret it soon. Dao Comprehension Sword asked curiously, were you teaching her a mystical power just now? You can kill that fellow by learning a mystical power now? That's right. Han Ju returned to his bed and meditated. Dao Comprehension Sword was even more curious. What mystical power could make Li Yao rise up in a short period of time and kill that fellow? She waited expectantly. The next day, Li Yao cast it dozens of times before finally succeeding. A huge black vortex appeared behind her. She turned around and was secretly shocked. What mystical power is this? She had been very puzzled before, as this mystical power did not seem powerful. The reason why she cultivated it was that there was no better option available. Inside the Khanate cave abode, Hanju felt the call of the invocation technique and opened his eyes. "I'll be back soon." Updated from Light Novel World. Calm. With that said, he was sucked away by a black vortex and vanished. Dao Comprehension Sword was stunned. She subconsciously turned to look at the Nine Heavens Galaxy water. Indeed, Hanju walked out of the black vortex behind Li Yao. He wore the 9-5 Supreme Providence robe, 9-layered heaven-trampling boots, Grand Imperial Phoenix Wings crown, and the giant spiritual wrist guard. His aura was oppressive. Coupled with his unparalleled appearance, Li Yao was stunned. She had imagined Hanju's appearance, but didn't expect him to be so handsome. She thought that he was a ruddy old Taoist. Hanju took out the primordial judgment sword as the sea-shaking elephant saint's voice sounded. "How can you appear in my Dharma treasure?" His voice was filled with shock. Hanju's sudden appearance frightened him. Hanju scanned with his divine sense. The sea-shaking elephant saint was still on his way, and there were no other powerful enemies around. Now was the time. Hanju waved his sword and slashed. Sword intent erupted and directly shattered the bottle, shaking the sea-shaking elephant saint. He and Li Yao appeared in the air. Li Yao's beautiful eyes widened. Not only was she stunned by Hanju's appearance, but she was also shocked by his strength. So powerful. The sea-shaking elephant was sent flying by the explosion. He stabilized himself and looked at Hanju, his anger erupting instantly. "How dare you?" the sea-shaking elephant saint roared angrily. Its nose turned into an elephant's nose and rapidly expanded. It was like a mountain range, raising a terrifying hurricane. Hanju flashed in front of Li Yao and raised his sword to execute the first level of the heavenly sword Dao. Sword pierces heaven. The sword chi swept out and directly shattered the elephant trunk, causing a rain of blood to spray into the sky. Almost instantly, the sea-shaking elephant saint's body was sliced into two by the sword chi. He was only at the early stage Grand Unity Golden Immortal Realm. How could he block Hanju's sword chi? Even if he had a perfected Grand Unity Golden Immortal Realm cultivation, he would still be insta-killed when facing Hanju. "Wait!" the sea-shaking elephant saint shouted in horror. Hanju waved his sword and used 3 pure world cleansing, causing billions of sword shadows to hang in the sky. The scene was spectacular, causing Li Yao's eyes to widen. Sea-shaking elephant saint was so frightened that he immediately escaped with his essence soul and disappeared into the horizon. Follow new episodes on the Light Novel World. Platform. Hanju waved his sword, and billions of sword shadows attacked. Unparalleled might. In the blink of an eye, he caught up to the sea-shaking elephant saint and killed him. Hanju turned to look at Li Yao and said, "Hurry up and leave, lest his companions come." Li Yao came back to her senses and immediately flew in another direction. She turned around and saw that Hanju didn't follow her. Instead, he walked back to the black vortex that summoned him. Li Yao immediately understood that he was going back. Why didn't Senior bring me back directly? Li Yao thought doubtfully. Was he testing her? But this made sense. It was truly embarrassing for her to be caught in this situation. Li Yao's face turned slightly red. She stopped looking behind and fled at full speed. On the other side, Hanju returned to the Khanate cave abode. He exhaled. Too close. Fortunately, this fellow did not have the help of a mighty figure. Hanju was worried that an immortal emperor would attack. There were so many demons in the demon court. There were also many demon saints. It was impossible for every one of them to have an immortal emperor watching them. Immortal emperors were not nannies. They had their own matters to attend to. "Master, you're so strong." Dao Comprehension Sword was extremely excited, and her face was flushed. Hanju said expressionlessly, "This is the result of years of hard work. I'll definitely cultivate harder in the future." Dao Comprehension Sword nodded and clenched her fists. "Don't spread this news. Follow current novels on Light Novel World." Understood. Hanju closed his eyes and continued cultivating. He no longer cared about Li Yao. He had already made a move. If Li Yao was caught again or killed, he wouldn't be able to do anything about it. He couldn't risk everything for her. "Don't disappoint me," Hanju thought silently. 5 years later, Hanju didn't receive any new hatred points, and Liao didn't encounter any more danger. This made him heave a sigh of relief. Indeed, not every enemy had a mighty figure protecting them. With Li Yao's current progress, she could quickly find the heavenly court. Through Li Yao, Hanju learned that the immortal world was far larger than he imagined. Most of the places were not controlled by the heavenly court. Despite being called above the 9 heavens, the heavenly court did not control the entire 9 heavens. With Li Yao's current cultivation realm, it wasn't difficult for her to join the heavenly court. She probably needed some time to meet Ditai Bai. After all, Hanju's reputation in the heavenly court was very low. Hanju stopped thinking about it and continued cultivating. The reroll world had the white-robed Buddha leading the people, and the void was guarded by divine Lord Wuda. Hanju could cultivate in peace. Another 6 years passed. The 8 gourd spirits landed on the ground and directly transformed into 8 youths. Under the protection of the Tao field, they did not transcend the tribulation. Hanju had been waiting for this day. He immediately came out of seclusion to meet them. The 8 gourd spirits had already put on their clothes. They looked like octuplets. They could already speak in human language, so there was no obstacle in communication. After seeing Hanju appear, the 8 brothers immediately surrounded him and knelt in front of him excitedly. All these years, through the teachings of the hidden sect disciples, they naturally knew that Hanju was the one who created them. If not for him, they wouldn't be here today. They might have long been refined into Dharma treasures. You can find the rest of this content on the light novel world.com platform. Hanju swept his gaze and discovered that the 8 brothers had all reached the loose immortal realm. Not bad. Read at Wuxia World. EU. From today onwards, all of you are to stay on the mountain and cultivate. Without my permission, you're not allowed to leave the mountain. Do you understand? From today onwards, all of you are to stay on the mountain and cultivate. Without my permission, you're not allowed to leave the mountain. Do you understand? Hanju looked down at the 8 kneeling brothers and smiled. His expression was kind, but his tone was very serious. The 8 brothers hurriedly promised not to leave the mountain. They had yet to realize how long this rule would last. They were excited and interested in everything after transforming. Hanju walked to the fusang tree and meditated. Then, he waved his hand to signal the 8 brothers to come over. The 8 brothers came over obediently, very curious about what he would say. The others understood that he wanted to teach them a cultivation technique. Hanju thought for a moment and decided to teach them the 6 paths of reincarnation technique. He was about to reach the end of this technique. His greatest reliance was not the 6 paths of reincarnation technique, nor was he afraid of being surpassed by the 8 brothers. Besides, he could teach them level by level. The other cultivation techniques of the Jade Pure Sacred Sect were also not suitable for them. The 8 brothers were unlike the others, who each had an immortal inheritance. Hanju wasn't worried that the Calabash brothers would betray him. He had already placed the 6 paths insignia on them before they were born. After spending a day imparting the 6 paths of reincarnation technique's cultivation technique to the 8 brothers, Hanju returned to his cave abode. To continue cultivating, he looked forward to the 8 brothers' future. With their potential, they should be able to rise quickly. In the future, if the reroll world was in trouble, they could help. The 8 brothers' talent made others feel threatened, including Long Hao. 40 years later, Hanju was already close to the perfected reincarnation golden immortal realm. One day, he opened his eyes and took out the Book of Misfortune to curse the enemies while checking his emails. Your good friend Ji Xianxian was attacked by Jie school cultivators and was severely injured. Your good friend Li Yao has joined the heavenly court. The source of this content is Light Novel World.com. Your grand disciple Feng Liang was attacked by demons, X140234. Your grand disciple Morong Qi has achieved the providence of the war god. His cultivation has increased greatly. Your good friend Divine General was attacked by an immortal emperor X17. Your good friend Heavenly Emperor was attacked by a mighty figure. Your Tao companion Xian Qingjun was attacked by a heavenly soldier X3281. Your disciple Su Qi had his bad luck absorbed. His divinity has weakened. Hanju frowned. What was wrong with Su Qi? His bad luck was actually absorbed by someone. Hanju was very worried, but he didn't know where Su Qi was. He couldn't save him even if he wanted to. Why didn't this kid use the invocation technique? Could it be that the sacred dynasty had an immortal emperor? Hanju also noticed that the Jie school and the heavenly court had started fighting. Even Xian Qingjun joined. Hanju immediately took out the heavenly Dao token and contacted Ditai Bai. Soon Ditai Bai's divine sense arrived. Wait for me to find you. I'm busy fighting to the death. With that, he severed his divine sense connection. Hanju remained silent. So dangerous? Could it be that the Jie school was stronger than the demon court? Hanju immediately checked the strongest person around the reroll world and didn't find any enemies. Immediately after, he used the heavenly Dao token to observe the world. The white-robed Buddha had already returned to seclusion, but the roots of the Chan school were deeply rooted in the world. Chan school, Jie school, and human school were all orthodox schools of the Dao sect, but their names were different. The Dao techniques of the Chan school had a long history in the mortal world. Many cultivators used their techniques as the foundation to create various cultivation techniques, spells, and mystical powers. In the past few years, the mortal world had welcomed an era of blooming flowers. The cultivation craze had also reached an unprecedented height. It had to be said that the white-robed Buddha was very capable. He had strengthened the reroll world alone. He had to think of a way to subdue him. Hanju thought silently. Updated from light novel world. Calm then he stopped thinking about it. He put away the heavenly Dao token and continued cultivating. Heavenly Court, Numinous Palace. The heavenly emperor sat on the throne expressionlessly. Following his gaze, the sky outside the hall was filled with battling figures. It was extremely chaotic. A figure transformed into a shadow and rushed into the numinous palace. It was a man in a golden Taoist robe. 3 swords floated behind him, their sheaths emitting a strong light, and his sleeves fluttering in the wind. He was handsome and powerful. He stared at the heavenly emperor and said, "Heavenly Emperor, are we still going to continue this battle? Release the souls of my disciples, and I'll lead the Jie school disciples to retreat." The heavenly emperor smiled gently and said, "Xianqinzi, do you really think that the few of you from the Jie school can shake the heavenly court?" Xianqinzi stroked his beard and said, "Our Jie school doesn't want to disturb the heavenly Tao. We only want to save our disciples and cultivate in peace." The heavenly emperor said, "It's impossible for those Jie school disciples to be released. That was their mistake in the immeasurable calamity. This is the punishment of the heavenly Tao. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't go against the heavens." Xianqinzi's eyes narrowed. He raised his right hand, and the 3 swords behind him quickly split into dozens of sword shadows that bloomed like flowers. At this moment, 4 pillars of light descended from the top of the numinous palace surrounding him. A terrifying aura enveloped the hall. Xianqinzi was moved and said in a low voice, "For extreme emperors, Heavenly Emperor, were you waiting for me on purpose?" The heavenly emperor said calmly, "Since the Jie school has planted spies in the heavenly court, why can't I arrange spies in the Jie school? For extreme emperors, I invite you to kill this person. Seal his soul in the divine pillar of the numinous palace to never be released again." The heavenly emperor's tone became extremely domineering and unquestionable. The 4 extreme emperors shouted in unison from the pillars of light, "Kill!" Boom. 4 years later, Hanju was cultivating when he suddenly sensed an aura. He raised an eyebrow. It was Xian Qingjun. The most up-to-date novels are published on Light Novel World. Why had she descended into the mortal world? Wait, how could she bypass Divine Lord Wuda? Xian Qingjun was meditating in a forest near the Jade Pure Sacred Sect, absorbing the immortal qi from the Cultivate diligently become immortal mountain to heal her injuries. Hanju appeared in front of her. Xian Qingjun opened her eyes and asked in surprise, "Grand Unity True Immortal?" This kid. She had cultivated with all her might in the immortal world, and obtained all sorts of opportunities. She had barely broken through to the Grand Unity True Immortal realm not long ago. But Hanju had already. Hanju noticed her injuries and couldn't help but raise his hand to heal her head using his dermic powers. Xian Qingjuan's eyes widened. Such dermic powers, Hanju's dermic powers were unfathomable. She actually felt that she was facing her master in the Jie school. Xian Qingjun was deeply shocked. As Hanju treated her, he asked, "Why did you come down?" Xian Qingjun sighed. "I used a special method to escape. I think only the mortal world is safe now. I joined a sect, and it actually wanted to attack the heavenly court. I was forced to join, but all of us were wiped out." Complete annihilation? Hanju raised his eyebrows. Was the heavenly court that impressive? Why was it so difficult to defeat the demon court then? Could it be that the Jie school was no longer as powerful as it was during the divine investiture era? The previous battle showed me the power of immortals. No wonder the heavenly court can control the heavenly rules. Xian Qingjun was very depressed. It wasn't easy for her to join a powerful sect. However, before long it was defeated. Although the Jie school wasn't destroyed, the people they sent were all suppressed, including her master's lineage. Now, she had nowhere to go, and had to be careful of the heavenly court's pursuit. Hanju said, "It's fine. I can protect you." But how did you escape from the immortals outside? He had to ask. The latest episodes are on the light novel world.com website. This was to prevent enemies from sneaking in the future. Read at Wuxia World. EU. Facing Hanju's question, Xian Qingjun hesitated for a moment, but still told him the truth. Facing Hanju's question, Xian Qingjun hesitated for a moment, but still told him the truth. It turned out that she also had a heavenly Dao stone that could deceive the heavenly secrets. She had previously obtained a fortuitous encounter in the immortal world, and learned a powerful mystical power that allowed her to travel through space. It was similar to the reincarnation mystical power that Hanju had used to jump into the netherworld. Previously, she had relied on this mystical power to accidentally enter the Jie school's territory. "You've joined the heavenly court?" Xian Qingjun asked, interrupting his thoughts. Hanju said, "I'm the guardian deity in charge of this mortal world now. Come with me into the mountain to recuperate." After all, Xian Qingjun was his first Dao companion. She had taken care of Hanju before. Xian Qingjun nodded. She had wanted to enter the mountain earlier, but the Dao field had isolated her divine sense. She thought that the mountain had changed owners, so she didn't dare to enter it rashly. Hanju brought Xian Qingjun back to the Cultivate Diligently Become Immortal mountain, and let her recuperate in his cave abode. Xing Hongxian, Fairy Xixian, and Chang Yuer had gone out to train decades ago, and had yet to return. However, Hanju couldn't let Xian Qingjun stay in their cave abode. Dao Comprehension Sword became vigilant when she saw Xian Qingjun, another woman, to be brought in by Hanju. Their relationship was definitely not simple. Hanju introduced them to each other. Xian Qingjun nodded to Dao Comprehension Sword, and meditated in a corner to heal her injuries. The other disciples were very curious about her identity. Xian Qingjun looked calm, but she was shocked. The immortal qi on this mountain was not inferior to the immortal islands of the Jie school. Most importantly, the demons and disciples that Hanju nurtured also grew rapidly. She even caught the aura of immortals. There was more than one. Hanju became mysterious in her eyes. She suddenly realized that she never understood him. She didn't know how talented Hanju was. The source of this content is Light Novel World. Comet had only been 2,000 years, but he had already reached the Grand Unity True Immortal Realm. Such talent was considered outstanding in the Jie school. Hanju originally thought that Xian Qingjun would join the hidden sect from now on. However, 3 years later, after Xian Qingjun recovered, she wanted to leave. "I have ample immortal qi here. You can cultivate in peace," Hanju said. Xian Qingjun shook her head and smiled. "I'm not as talented as you. Cultivating alone is not enough. It's very easy to become lazy and complacent." These words represented the intentions of Xing Hongxian and the others. If they all had Hanju's potential, who would be willing to go out and experience life and death? Hanju was speechless. Even if he invited Xian Qingjun to join the heavenly court, she was unwilling. She said that she had killed many heavenly soldiers, and that entering the heavenly court was asking for trouble. In the end, Hanju didn't force her to stay. Before Xian Qingjun left, he taught her the invocation technique. saying that she could only use it at critical moments. It took Xian Qingjun half a month to completely master the invocation technique before she left. Hanju didn't send her off. Xian Qingjun directly jumped out of the realm and didn't bump into Divine Lord Wuda. After Xian Qingjun left, Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune and contacted Di Tai Bai. Haha, why are you looking for me? Di Tai Bai asked with a smile. Hanju said, you seem to be in a good mood? Of course. Not long ago, the Jie school attacked and was wiped out by us. The Heavenly Court's prestige in the immortal world has increased greatly. How can I not be happy? Congratulations. Can you help me investigate someone? His name is Su Qi, and he's my disciple. Su Qi. That jinx. Di Tai Bai's tone was strange. Visit Light Novel World. Com for the best novel reading experience. Hanju asked in surprise. What jinx? Indeed, the Heavenly Court already knew Su Qi's identity, but they didn't take the initiative to recruit him. This meant that there was a special reason why Su Qi had left the Heavenly Court to descend into the mortal world. Di Tai Bai said, your disciple Su Qi was originally the jinx of the Heavenly Court. His bad luck was too strong and always affected other immortals. His Majesty, the Heavenly Emperor, had no choice but to expel him to the mortal world. He wanted to use the 10,000 reincarnations to wash away his negative karma. Speaking of which, the jinx is also from the Jie school. A long time ago, he was born from the negative karma of the world. Due to the rejection of the heavenly Tao, it was difficult for him to become an immortal emperor. He doesn't have good relationships with people in the Jie school, either. If not for the fact that the Jie school doesn't discriminate, he would probably be expelled by the myriad worlds. Hanju's expression was strange. Was Su Qi so miserable in his previous life? Di Tai Bai continued. Below the immortal emperor realm, it's very easy to be harmed by the jinx. As for immortal emperors, they look down on his providence even more. You don't have to worry about him. No one is willing to inherit the vast negative karma for the sake of killing him. It's even more impossible for ignorant people to kill him. Since you want to find him, I'll let the two clairvoyants check around. Hanju thanked him hurriedly. No matter what, Su Qi was his disciple and had helped him deal with two great enemies. He couldn't leave him behind. Hanju asked. In other words, peace has returned to the Heavenly Court? Yes, we won't encounter any trouble for the time being. The Jie school has been suppressed, and the demon court has been frightened until it's much more obedient. 50 years later, the Heavenly Court will hold an immortal banquet. Are you coming? I won't go. I didn't attack the Jie school either. I'll be embarrassed to go. It has nothing to do with the Jie school. It's to celebrate His Highness the Crown Prince becoming a disciple of a sage. Sage? Yes, that's an existence that's as high as the heavenly Tao. They rarely appear throughout the eras. Only when the immeasurable calamity appears will they show up in the myriad worlds. Congratulations to His Highness. I think I should forget it. I won't be used to it even if I go. Hehe. After severing the connection with his divine sense, Hanju continued cultivating. In the blink of an eye, another 30 years passed. Hanju finally reached the perfected reincarnation golden immortal realm. He almost cried in joy. In his excitement, he took out the Book of Misfortune and blessed all the enemies. Everyone was given an additional day, and were cursed for 6 days each. Updated from Light Novel World. Although hundreds of years of lifespan had been deducted, Hanju felt that they were worth it. Hanju cursed as he checked his emails regularly. Your grand disciple Feng Liang devoured the remnant soul of a mighty figure. His cultivation has increased greatly. Your good friend Zhou Fan was attacked by your good friend Mo Fuzhou. Both of them were severely injured. Your Dao companion Xian Qingjun has obtained the true teachings of the Jie school. Your disciple Su Qi spread bad luck. The providence of the grand desolate sacred dynasty has decreased. Your good friend Ji Xianxian was attacked by demons, X340032. Your good friend Jiang, he was attacked by an immortal emperor. Your good friend Di Hongya has comprehended the true meaning of time. His cultivation has increased greatly. Everyone's journey was smooth. Hanju finally knew who the sacred dynasty that captured Su Qi was. Previously, Taibai didn't find out, so Hanju could only give up. He wondered if he could directly curse a whole faction. Hanju decided to give it a try. In the future, the Grand Desolate Sacred Dynasty would also join the curse list. In addition, Zhou Fan and Mo Fuzhou fought, which surprised him. The two of them were truly deeply connected, having gone through love and hatred. They had walked hand in hand all the way until today, and even fought each other. They were truly full of brotherly affection. Hanju also noticed that Xian Qingjun had returned to the Jie school. From the looks of it, the Jie school was indeed suitable for her. After the battle decades ago, the Jie school shouldn't cause trouble again. It was one of the three major schools of the Dao sect. Even if it was desolate, no one dared to suppress it. At this moment, a voice sounded in Hanju's mind. Master, I'm in trouble. Follow current novels on Light Novel World. The voice came from the reincarnation avatar guarding the Sword Dao River Liu Bei. His tone was filled with helplessness. Read at Wuxia World. EU. Hanju could communicate with the reincarnation avatar. After all, this avatar was created by him. He could even sense what the reincarnation avatar was thinking, but the latter couldn't sense his thoughts. Hanju could communicate with the reincarnation avatar. After all, this avatar was created by him. He could even sense what the reincarnation avatar was thinking, but the latter couldn't sense his thoughts. The reincarnation avatar, Liu Bei, began to talk about the troubles during this period. A prodigy of the Sword Dao discovered Liu Bei and felt that he had an impressive identity, so he tried to strike up a conversation with him. In the beginning, Liu Bei could still tolerate it, but as time passed he could not. Therefore he had scolded that genius of the Sword Dao, but in the end he had offended the guy. The other party had threatened to make him regret it. Liu Bei had inherited Hanju's cautious personality. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to handle it, so he contacted his main body. Hanju was speechless. Wasn't this basically himself? However, he wasn't so arrogant and dared not to say such harsh words. Hanju thought, call me when he appears next time. Alright. Liu Bei still sounded nervous. He was afraid that the other party had a powerful background. Hanju began to cultivate the 6 paths of reincarnation technique and sought the method to become an immortal emperor. When he reached the perfected reincarnation golden immortal realm, a new cultivation technique appeared in his mind. It was extremely vast and unfathomable. It involved many paths, such as providence, heaven and earth, heavenly Tao, 5 elements, yin and yang, fate and so on. Immortal emperors didn't cultivate only one Tao. Jiang Yi had become an immortal emperor of the Sword Dao, but he had said that the Sword Dao was his weakest Dao. Cultivation was so difficult. It was unlike fantasy stories. Geniuses could always temper their bodies endlessly. Even if they didn't understand other aspects, they could still forcefully reach the strongest realm. Cultivation meant cultivating the Tao in the heart. The legendary 12 ancestral magi had powerful bodies and no essence soul. They had inherited the orthodox lineage of Pangu. Several months later, Hanju finally finished reviewing the 6 paths of reincarnation technique. Now he couldn't reach the immortal emperor realm just by meditating. Hanju opened his eyes. Visit Light Novel World. For the best novel reading experience. Providence. There were 3 paths to reach the emperor realm. The first was providence. Using great providence to obtain the recognition of the heavenly Tao and stepping into the emperor realm. Such immortal emperors were the weakest. The second was the great Tao. By relying on the great Tao, he could use his comprehension of the great Tao to transform his soul. The third was to combine the great Tao and providence. Such immortal emperors were the strongest. They had both powerful strength and great providence to protect them. Hanju himself had the great Tao of life and death, but his providence might not be strong enough. Since he wanted to become an immortal emperor, he had to be the strongest kind. Detected that you are facing the choice of attaining the emperor realm. You have the following choices. 1. Providence Immortal Emperor. You can obtain a great Tao fragment, a supreme treasure, and a mystical power inheritance. 2. Great Tao Immortal Emperor. You can obtain 2 great Tao fragments and a supreme treasure. 3. Perfect Immortal Emperor. You can obtain 3 great Tao fragments, a heavenly Tao spirit stone, and a mystical power inheritance. This choice couldn't be made immediately. It would only be completed automatically after reaching it. Hanju fell silent. How could he obtain great providence? One was to kill the enemy and seize their providence. This was why the geniuses would trample on each other. Second, with the reroll world as the foundation, as the heavenly Tao got stronger, his providence would rise accordingly. This was also the reason why the white-robed Buddha worked so hard. Hanju felt that he still had to rely on the reroll world. Although he was a deity of the mortal world, Hanju's providence was not tied to the reroll world. Instead, the white-robed Buddha had already fused with the providence of the world. Hanju immediately took out the heavenly Tao token and contacted Di Tai Bai. On second thought, something was wrong. Di Tai Bai wasn't an immortal emperor. If he knew, wouldn't he have long become one? Hanju chased Tao comprehension sword out of the cave abode and asked, "Is the heavenly emperor here?" After a while, the heavenly emperor's voice sounded. "What is it?" Hanju asked with a strange expression. "You've been staring at me all the time? Visit to Light Novel World. Come discover new novels. If you didn't call my name, would I have paid attention to you?" The heavenly emperor snorted. He was the heavenly emperor, the leader of the heavenly court. How could he have the time to stare at him? Hanju couldn't help but tense up. The heavenly emperor could sense it just by calling out to him. Fortunately, he didn't speak ill of him behind his back. "I want to ask how to fuse with the providence of the mortal world and strengthen it," Hanju asked. The heavenly emperor's voice sounded. "Oh? You're about to achieve the immortal emperor realm?" Hanju hesitated for a moment and then nodded slowly. In front of the heavenly emperor, he felt like he had been seen through. "The karma between you and the scarlet cloud, no reroll world, is too little. You have to enter the mortal world." "Enter the mortal world?" Hanju said in surprise. "You mean to travel the world and interact with people?" The heavenly emperor teased. "Didn't you obtain the reincarnation inheritance? Why don't you reincarnate as your trial?" "Reincarnation?" Hanju fell silent. "Reincarnation doesn't mean death. You can hide your body in the depths of your soul. When your mortal body dies of old age, you can regain consciousness. Even if someone wants to kill your mortal body, you will sense it," the heavenly emperor explained. Hanju felt that it was feasible. It would only take a few decades in the mortal world. It was equivalent to entering seclusion. No wonder so many powerful people reincarnated. "Thank you for your guidance, Your Majesty." Hanju thanked him. The heavenly emperor didn't reply, and the communication ended. Hanju began to comprehend the great Tao of life and death. After he reached his limits, he would reincarnate and train. For more, visit Light Novel World. Calm beside a large river, Emo Fujo and Zhou sat on the grass. Facing the river, they were both thinking about something. Zhou came back to his senses and asked, "Have you thought about it?" Emo Fujo said leisurely, "Go. Fong Liang is Brother Han's grand disciple. We've seen him in the mortal world before. Since we heard that he's in trouble, how can we ignore it?" Zhou snorted. "This kid's providence is too strong. It's said that he just killed dozens of heaven immortals not long ago. We might not be his match even if we cooperate." Emo Fujo smiled and said, "We're not bad either." With that, he stood up and said, "Since you've decided, let's go." Zhou nodded. The two of them flew in the same direction and vanished at the end of the river in the blink of an eye. On the other side, Heavenly Court, in a stone pavilion. "Really?" Morongqi slapped the table and stood up angrily. In front of him sat Di Tai Bai. Di Tai Bai said helplessly, "That kid Fong Liang is being controlled by a family under the Divine Palace. It's said that he's delirious and has gone mad. If you want to save him, you'll have to face several grand unity mystic immortals. With your current strength, I'm afraid." Morongqi frowned and said, "The Heavenly Court can't do anything? Fong Liang is also a heavenly general. The Divine Palace is on good terms with the Heavenly Court now. We can't save him for the time being. Let's wait a little longer. That family won't take Fong Liang's life for the time being. They're still counting on him to make a comeback." "Does my Grandmaster know about this?" "No. Do you want me to tell him?" "No need. I'll save my junior brother. Don't trouble Grandmaster." Morongqi turned around and left. Dai Bai hurriedly called out to him. You don't have the strength of your previous life now. Morongqi waved his hand and said, even if I don't, killing mystic immortals is nothing difficult. Looking in the direction he had vanished, Dai Bai frowned. Could it be that this fellow has already recovered his cultivation from his previous life? Impossible. He died in his previous life. Could it be that he had a huge fortuitous encounter in the Heaven Punishment Divine region? Dai Bai couldn't understand. He also yearned to reach the Immortal Emperor realm. Visit Light Novel World. Com for a better experience, however. Due to his limited potential, he had been stuck at the perfected Grand Unity Golden Immortal Realm for a long time. So many years had passed. Read at Wuxia World. EU. 10 years later. 10 years later. Hanju raised his sword Dao mystical powers to the limit. In the simulation trial, other than the Heavenly Emperor, everyone else was instantly killed. Hanju's cultivation had already reached the limit and could no longer be strengthened. Therefore, he decided to start comprehending the great Tao of life and death next. As for reincarnation and fusing the providence, Hanju was still conflicted. What if the enemies took the opportunity to mess with him during his reincarnation? If it was him, after knowing that his invincible enemy had reincarnated, he would definitely think of a way to completely kill him and prevent future trouble. Hanju placed the reincarnation plan last on the list. If he could avoid reincarnation, he would never do it. Half a year later, he was pleasantly surprised to discover that comprehending the great Tao of life and death could allow his cultivation level to continue growing stronger. That was quite impressive. Was this the great Tao? Hanju was extremely excited and continued to comprehend the great Tao of life and death. The great Tao of life and death controlled life and death. The 6 paths of reincarnation were created with the great Tao of life and death as the foundation. If there was no life and death, how could there be reincarnation? During the comprehension process, Hanju's essence soul entered the great Tao of life and death. He witnessed the cycle of life and death of countless people. There were all kinds of forms in life. At first, his emotions would fluctuate. But after watching too much, his heart became numb. Numbness wasn't the ultimate success. He had to transcend numbness, understand life and death, believe in life and death, control life and death, and not be controlled by life and death. In the Khanate cave abode, Tao comprehension sword blinked at him. There were 2 visible auras around Hanju. One was black and the other was white. His hair alternated between them. It was extremely strange. Although Tao comprehension sword was filled with doubts, she didn't dare to disturb Hanju. Half a year later, Dai Bai came to visit. Hanju was in a state of Tao comprehension and didn't hear his voice. Tao comprehension sword had no choice but to go out to welcome him. Dai Bai stood at the edge of the cliff. Beside him was a woman in white. It was Liao. The most up-to-date novels are published on Light Novel World. The others had already seen Dai Bai. Thus, they were curious about the white-robed woman beside him. What a beautiful woman! She was prettier than Tu Linger, Xing Hongxian and Chang Yuer. Only Tao comprehension sword could compare. This woman in white was Liao. Her expression was indifferent, making everyone think of Hanju. Her temperament was too similar to his, especially that wary gaze. Liao looked indifferent, but she was actually extremely nervous. Ever since she was saved by Hanju, she had an indescribable feeling towards him. After living for so long, she only knew how to cultivate and had never fallen in love. However, Hanju's appearance that day was really stunning, causing her to remember it clearly. She had been to so many worlds, even the immortal world and the heavenly court, but she had never met a man more handsome than Hanju. He was good-looking and powerful. He even saved her. Even if her heart was made of stone, it still melted. However, after arriving at the Cultivate Diligently Become Immortal mountain, she subconsciously became vigilant. What if the one on this mountain was not the Hanju she knew? What if he had ill intentions? Seeing Tao comprehension sword walk out of the Khanate cave abode, she became even more nervous. Could it be that Hanju liked? Tao comprehension sword's eyes lit up when she saw Liao. She immediately walked over and carefully sized her up. Liao was frightened and subconsciously retreated. If she took another step back, she would fall off the cliff. Of course, with her cultivation level, that was impossible. Dao Comprehension Sword looked at Di Tai Bai and said, Master is comprehending the Dao. He can't come out for the time being. This woman claims to know Hanju. He asked her to come, right? Di Tai Bai asked. Originally, Li Yao's immortal position was not enough to attract his attention, but when she mentioned Hanju, he had to be serious. Li Yao was very mysterious and was ambiguous about the past. If Di Tai Bai had not guessed that she had ascended from the mortal world, he would have directly captured her. Follow new episodes on the Light Novel World.com platform. Yes, it's true. I thank Great Immortal on Master's behalf. Di Tai Bai smiled and nodded before disappearing. Dao Comprehension Sword looked at Li Yao and smiled. I've watched you with Master before. I've seen all your experiences over the years. You're really impressive. She began to talk nonstop, causing Li Yao to frown. She wasn't proud. Instead, she felt insecure. Anyone would feel uncomfortable being spied on. If it was Hanju, he would probably want to kill the other party. Dao Comprehension Sword could tell that she wasn't in a good mood, so she arranged for her to sit in front of the fusang tree and let her cultivate first. The Black Hell Chicken asked curiously, What's her relationship with Master? Hanju spent most of his time cultivating, but he would occasionally go out. Dao Comprehension Sword snorted. What does it have to do with you? Are you at the loose immortal realm yet? The Black Hell Chicken glared at her, not daring to reply. Although the others were curious, they did not approach. Li Yao's expression was too cold, as if she did not want anyone to approach her. The disciples of the hidden sect were all geniuses, so they were naturally not too humble. In the blink of an eye, another 10 years passed. Hanju woke up in realization. The great Tao of life and death really fascinated him. It was like a dream. He only felt that several days had passed. Hanju's cultivation level had increased greatly, surpassing decades of bitter cultivation. He was very satisfied with this. He took out the Book of Misfortune and did his usual missions. Dao Comprehension Sword suddenly said, Li Yao is here. Hanju raised his eyebrows. He scanned with his divine sense and discovered that Li Yao was cultivating outside. Okay, let her continue cultivating, Hanju replied. Li Yao's cultivation level had already reached the early stage Grand Unity True Immortal Realm. Back then, when he first saw her, she was still immortal. The source of this content is Light Novel World.com. Dao Comprehension Sword asked in surprise. You don't want to see her? What she wants is a place for cultivation. It's fine as long as I don't disturb her. I don't need her to do anything for the time being, Hanju replied. He hoped that Li Yao would treat this place as her home. This way, when the Cultivate diligently become immortal mountain encountered danger, it would also increase his combat strength. However, this woman's personality was too similar to his. If he encountered a problem, his first thought was to run. Li Yao was most likely the same. Hanju continued cursing and checked his emails. Your grand disciple Feng Liang was attacked by a cultivator. X20943. Your good friend Ji Xianxian received guidance from a mighty figure and learned a mystical power. Your grand disciple Feng Liang was attacked by demons. X142800. Your good friend Zhou Fan was attacked by your grand disciple Feng Liang and was severely injured. Your good friend Mo Fuzhou was attacked by your grand disciple Feng Liang and was severely injured. Your disciple Yang Tiandong was attacked by a righteous cultivator and was killed. His soul fell into the cycle of reincarnation. Your good friend Divine General was cursed. Hanju suddenly frowned. Not to mention why Feng Liang attacked Zhou Fan and Morong Qi. Why was Yang Tiandong dead? Hanju immediately captured Yang Tiandong's soul and discovered that he was already in the netherworld. He immediately sent his essence soul into the netherworld to find him. At this moment, Yang Tiandong was already lining up in front of the Bridge of Forgetfulness. He was in a daze, similar to the ghosts in front and behind. Hanju sucked Yang Tiandong towards him. What happened? Hanju asked in a low voice. The moment Yang Tiandong saw him, he immediately lowered his head in shame and gritted his teeth. Master, I've let you down. He suddenly knelt. Visit to Light Novel World.com. Discover new novels. Hanju frowned and asked, What is it? Yang Tiandong replied with a trembling voice. I took the initiative to spar with someone, and was beaten to death. I've embarrassed you. Read at Wuxia World. EU. After hearing Yang Tiandong's words, Hanju took a deep breath. He was angry, but he felt even more speechless. After hearing Yang Tiandong's words, Hanju took a deep breath. He was angry, but he felt even more speechless. Yang Tiandong didn't cry out in injustice or anger, which meant that he was in the wrong. Hanju asked, "Why did you want to spar with someone?" Yang Tiandong said awkwardly, "My subordinate said that he's the strongest among the demons. I didn't believe. Why kill when sparring? He said that he doesn't spar and only kills enemies. I said that we should just fight like enemies." Hanju was convinced. In that case, it wasn't the other party's fault. It was Yang Tiandong who had provoked him. Yang Tiandong wished that there was a hole in the ground for him to hide in. He didn't dare to look at his master. Hanju said, "Then, go reincarnate and cultivate well in your next life." With that, he disappeared. He couldn't be bothered to comfort Yang Tiandong. However, before leaving, he still sent a message to Mengpa, hoping that Yang Tiandong would be given a good background in his next life. No matter what, he was his first disciple. Yang Tiandong returned to the queue in a daze. He sadly discovered that he couldn't return to his original position. He had to start from the end. Yang Tiandong looked up. Countless ghosts were queuing up, looking so lonely. He suddenly regretted it. If he had stayed on the Cultivate diligently become immortal mountain. Unfortunately, there were no ifs. In the next life, he might very well become immortal, and his master would lead the other disciples to continue their cultivation path. The more Yang Tiandong thought about it, the more his heart ached. He could only blame himself. He couldn't hate anyone. After returning to the Khanate cave abode, Hanju began to deduce the mortal demon who had killed Yang Tiandong. Visit to Light Novel World. Discover new novels. As he was about to become an immortal emperor, he had a certain understanding of karma. If he followed Yang Tiandong's deduction, it was very easy for him to deduce that demon. It was a demon at the Tribulation Transcendence realm. It hid in the mountains and forests to cultivate. There was no second demon within 100 miles. It seemed very solitary. It was probably a cultivator like Hanju, but he got pestered by Yang Tiandong. Hanju didn't seek revenge. Yang Tiandong deserved it. It was just nice to let Yang Tiandong reincarnate and re-roll his potential. The Khanate providence of a descendant of a mortal world demon saint was really insufficient. He had already fallen behind. If the potential in the next life was bad too, he would continue to reincarnate. Hanju stopped thinking and continued to comprehend the great Tao of life and death. Under the Fusang tree, everyone was cultivating diligently and rarely chatted. Hanju didn't spread the news of Yang Tiandong's death. As his comprehension of the great Tao of life and death deepened, he discovered that his stellar primordial body was beginning to exert some effect. In the depths of his soul, a sea of stars appeared. Countless stars shone brightly. Hanju connected the great Tao of life and death to these stars. The great Tao of life and death was stimulated and became stronger. Hanju realized that his consciousness had arrived in a vast universe. The dazzling stars made him absent-minded. He suddenly realized that he did not understand the stellar primordial body at all. He had been cultivating and had neglected his research on the physique. Hanju decided to focus on the stellar primordial body next. He had a bold thought. If he created a universe, and the universe developed into the scale of the current myriad worlds, all the providence would gather on him. The providence of the immortal world, and the myriad worlds gathered together. Wasn't that the heavenly Tao? Hanju was tempted. He suddenly recalled the legend of Panga splitting the heavens. Could it be that after Panga split the heavens, he did not sacrifice himself, but transformed into the heavenly Tao, and became an existence that even the immortals could not imagine? Hanju suppressed his excitement. This plan would take too long. Follow current novels on Light Novel World. The immortal world had existed for countless years. The amount of time needed might even exceed the concept of time itself. In a huge prison, Zhou Fan and Mo Fujo were meditating. Not only the two of them, but others had been defeated by Feng Liang, and were imprisoned here. Dozens of cultivators were patrolling the dark prison entrance. The other prison also had many cultivators inside, all of them healing their injuries. Emofujo opened his eyes and said in a low voice, "Strange, don't you think that everything is very strange?" Zhou Fan opened his eyes and asked, "What do you mean? The Gu family left so many of us alive. Aren't they afraid of danger? We might be of use to them." "That's true." Emofujo frowned. How could the Gu family use them? So many people? Emofujo had a bad feeling. A person beside him sighed. Leaving so many people who came from various factions alive, it must be for the sacrifice. Don't you know that the Gu family has an ancestor? He almost stepped into the immortal emperor realm. Fong Liang is so powerful because of the ancestor's enlightenment. The others followed suit. Yes, it's very likely that they want to revive their ancestor. In that case, Fong Liang is just a pawn? Nonsense. Otherwise, would he end up in an unconscious state? Don't think that he's domineering. He's actually better off dead. It's said that the head of the Gu family wanted to marry his daughter to Fong Liang, but he rejected. That's why Fong Liang ended up like this. Isn't Fong Liang a heavenly general of the heavenly court? Why isn't anyone from the heavenly court here? The heavenly court is on good terms with the divine palace. Why would they offend the divine palace for an ordinary heavenly general? Sigh, all living beings are ants before the chess players. Visit to Light Novel World. Come discover new novels. Zhou Fan and Emofujo looked at each other. Zhou Fan said in a low voice, "Do you think Hanju will come?" Emofujo rolled his eyes and said, "Brother Han is still in the mortal world. How can he come?" Zhou Fan felt that it made sense. If he comes, the Gu family will definitely be wiped out. Zhou Fan teased. At this point, he no longer doubted Hanju's strength. He could only imagine it. Zhou Fan understood Hanju. Although this fellow was cautious and didn't like to provoke trouble, whoever dared to provoke him would definitely suffer. Emofujo smiled and said, "Perhaps." He had a feeling that the Gu family was in trouble. As 3 years later, Zhou Fan, Emofujo, and the other prisoners were injected with a special poison, causing their dermic powers to collapse, and for them to no longer be able to circulate their energy. After that, they were escorted out of the dungeon. An hour later, they were sent to a huge building at the top of a mountain. This was the place where Fong Liang had been enlightened. Everyone was nervous. The Gu family's master sat in the pavilion with Fong Liang behind him. Fong Liang was expressionless. He wore a Taoist robe covered in various runes and patterns. He looked very strange. The Gu family master waved his hand. The Gu family cultivators around the altar took a step forward and started casting their spells. Zhou Fan frowned. "It's about to begin?" Emofujo didn't reply. Instead, he circulated his energy with all his might. However, no matter what, he couldn't produce any dermic powers. The other prisoners fell into a panic. Many even started cursing the Gu family. A woman appeared beside the Gu family's master. Her name was Gu Xian. She turned to look at Fong Liang and asked, "Father, can you really save Fong Liang by doing this?" Of course. The reason why he's in a daze is that he can't withstand the ancestors' cultivation. By returning the cultivation, he will be able to recover. The Gu family head replied as he stared at the array formation on the altar below. The ancestral recovery array had been activated. The latest episodes are on the Light Novel World. Com website. Read at Wuxia World. EU. The Gu family head stood up and walked out of the pavilion. He came to the railing and looked down at the ancestral recovery array. The Gu family head stood up and walked out of the pavilion. He came to the railing and looked down at the ancestral recovery array. The 99 Gu family cultivators used their dermic powers to activate the array formation. A huge purple barrier covered the altar. Rolling thunderclouds condensed above the purple barrier and quickly expanded, spreading to all directions. Boom! Deafening thunder rumbled. The Gu family head's eyes burned with passion. "Ancestor, your descendant is about to revive you. Soon." He roared in his heart, extremely excited. He raised his hand and waved. Fong Liang immediately flew past him and into the air. Walking towards the top of the ancestral recovery array, countless bolts of lightning interwove on Fang Liang's body. But he did not frown. A terrifying pressure filled the world. The Gu family really wants to revive their ancestor? Zhou Fan widened his eyes. He had been resurrected several times, but he had relied on himself. Had the Gu family gone mad? Mo Fuzhou gritted his teeth and cursed. Damn it! What poison is this? It can't be dispelled at all. At this rate, before Fang Liang died, they would be sacrificed first. The others were also extremely terrified. Some people wanted to forcefully rush out of the ancestral recovery array, but they were jolted back. Swish! A sonic boom tore through the air. A long halberd descended from the sky and directly broke through the ancestral recovery array. The tip of the halberd stabbed into the altar, causing cracks to appear on its surface. Everyone turned to look. This long halberd was silver-white in color. The blade of the halberd was like a crescent moon, shining brightly. A silver dragon seemed to be wrapped between the halberd blade and spear shaft, looking mighty and domineering. Who dares to hurt my junior brother? A domineering shout resounded through the world, causing everyone to look up. Wearing silver armor, Morongqi stepped on a qilin and attacked. Divine light flashed behind him and pierced through the thundercloud. The Gu family head frowned and thought to himself, Heavenly General? What does the Heavenly Court mean by this? He immediately waved his hand, gesturing for the Gu family cultivators to attack. In an instant, hundreds of Gu family cultivators soared into the sky and attacked Morongqi. Morongqi raised his hand and waved, causing the silver dragon halberd to quickly fly back into his hand. He looked at Fang Liang and discovered that his junior brother was like a walking corpse. He was immediately furious and his eyes turned red. The most up-to-date novels are published on Light Novel World. Calm inside the Khanate cave abode, Hanju was cultivating. All these years, he had been studying the stellar primordial body. The dermic powers in his body had been increasing. He discovered that every star in his body could contain dermic powers, and the quantity was not small. If the billions of stars filled with dermic powers were activated in battle, it would be an explosive force that could destroy the world. Just thinking about it made Hanju excited. In addition, he felt that the stellar primordial body might contain even stronger secrets. At this moment, a black vortex suddenly appeared behind Hanju. He felt the summoning of the invocation technique. What happened? Hanju frowned. Who was using the invocation technique? Hanju hesitated for a moment, but still stood up and said, I'll be back soon. He turned around and stepped into the black vortex. At the same time, dust filled the Gu family's mountain. On the altar, Fang Liang collapsed in the ruins. Morongqi and Gu Xian knelt beside him. Many prisoners and corpses were lying around. A black vortex floated above Fang Liang's head. Morongqi looked at it, feeling uneasy. Was the mystical power taught by Grandmaster useful? Why didn't I pay the price for using it? Back then, when Hanju taught him the invocation technique, he had mentioned a terrifying price. Morongqi thought that he would have to sell his soul. Unexpectedly, nothing happened. Most importantly, he didn't reverse the situation. Morongqi looked up. A fierce battle in the sky shook the world. The Gu family's ancestor had already been revived. Although he had only regained his soul, his aura was still very powerful. The person fighting him was a tiger-headed greater demon. This great demon wore thorny armor and had a demonic aura. He held a bone truncheon in his hand and attacked with all his might. With his great powers, he managed to restrain the Gu family's ancestor. However, it was only a distraction. The Gu family ancestor's aura became stronger and stronger as time passed. At this rate, the demon would definitely lose. Damn it! Even a late-stage Grand Unity Golden Immortal can't suppress him? Is this fellow about to step into the Immortal Emperor realm? The latest episodes are on the Light Novel World. Com website. Morongqi gritted his teeth. This greater demon was his subordinate back then, the Demon Bone Tiger. It was one of the 72 generals under him. He didn't expect that it was no match for the newly resurrected Gu family ancestor. If I had the cultivation level of my previous life, Morongqi thought indignantly. He couldn't help but look at the black vortex. At this moment, he saw a figure walk out of the black vortex. Morongchi's eyes widened. Grandmaster? Why is Grandmaster here? It wasn't that Morongchi didn't think that this was a summoning technique, but he didn't expect Hanju to come. He knew Hanju's personality best. The Heavenly Court invited Hanju, but he didn't go. But to save them, Hanju walked out of the black vortex and saw Feng Liang lying on the ground. He couldn't help but frown and ask in a low voice, "Who did this?" Seeing Hanju appear, Zhou Fan and Mo Fuzhou widened their eyes in shock. Why was he here? Many thoughts flashed through Morongchi's mind. Then, he pointed at the Gu family's ancestor and said, "It's him. He stole Junior Brother's cultivation. The tiger demon fighting him is my subordinate." Hanju looked at the Gu family's ancestor. Perfected Grand Unity Golden Immortal Realm. No wonder he could force his two precious grand disciples to such a state. Hanju raised his right hand and directly used the Heaven-Earth Mystic Yellow World-Piercing Sword Finger. Without another word, he used his full power. Fighting the Demon Bone Tiger, the Gu family's ancestor subconsciously turned his head and saw Hanju's sword chi. The sword chi was extremely fast, faster than lightning. It was difficult to follow with the naked eye. It directly drowned the Gu family's ancestor and pierced through the thundercloud. Visit Light Novel World. Calm for a better experience. It was like shooting through the sky. The Demon Bone Tiger was almost frightened to death. When Hanju's sword chi swept past him, he felt the aura of death. Emperor Realm mystical power. Was it an immortal emperor? The Demon Bone Tiger turned around and saw Morongchi kneeling down to Hanju. This was only a difference in perspective. Morongchi had exhausted all his dermic powers and was kneeling beside Feng Liang to take care of him. Hanju floated above Feng Liang and looked down from the sky as if Morongchi was kneeling to him. What a handsome man! Could this be like what Big Brother had said? After Hanju felt the aura of the Gu family's ancestor completely disappear, he turned around and walked back to the black vortex, saying, "Bring your junior brother back. Be careful when you go out in the future." Hanju quickly disappeared into the black vortex. The world fell silent. Everyone who was still alive was stunned. Too fast. It was so fast that no one could react. Before they could figure out what was going on, the Gu family's ancestor was gone? Ancestor! A shrill cry sounded. The Gu family had knelt on the ruins of the pavilion in pain. He held his head with both hands and almost went mad. He's gone just like that? Zhou Fan muttered to himself in disbelief. He knew that Hanju was very strong. But unexpectedly, this was too ridiculous. The Gu family's ancestor was so powerful that he could destroy the world. He was stronger than any mighty figure he had ever seen. But Hanju killed him with a single finger. Morongchi suddenly shouted, "Little Seven, what are you waiting for? Kill them. Leave no one from the Gu family alive. All of them must die." The Demon Bone Tiger came back to its senses and revealed a sinister smile. Read at Wuxia World. EU. After returning to the Khanate cave abode, Hanju heaved a sigh of relief. He was still so nervous, even though it was the second time he went to the immortal world. Fortunately, the enemy was not strong. How long had it been since these brats ascended? They had actually started to provoke Grand Unity Golden Immortals. Dao Comprehension Sword asked curiously, "Master, where did you go just now?" This wasn't the first time she had seen the black vortex. The last time was to save Li Yao. What about this time? Hanju didn't hide anything and told them what happened to Feng Liang and Morongchi. The immortal world is so dangerous. These two brothers almost died after going up. Do you still want to ascend? Hanju asked solemnly. Dao Comprehension Sword shook her head crazily. She said seriously, "I've never thought of ascending. I just want to stay by Master's side. I'm doing well now. I keep cultivating and occasionally relax. I can even chat with them." The greatest benefit of staying in the Cultivate Diligently Become Immortal Mountain was that there was no pressure. She liked this kind of non-stressful living environment. She had memories of her previous life. In her previous life, most of her memories were of constantly being in fear. She was just a blade of grass. No one cared about her. The beasts and humans passing by could step on her, and not care about her life. So, in this life, she was very grateful to Hanju, and even became dependent on him. However, Hanju didn't know what she was thinking, so he always tried to brainwash her again and again. Hanju said in satisfaction, "Continue cultivating." Dao Comprehension Sword nodded. After hesitating for a moment, she said, "Master, recently, Howard and Li Yao fought. Li Yao's talent is too strong. The Black Hell Chicken has been sowing discord and using Li Yao to suppress Howard. Although Long Hao was talented, he hadn't grown up yet and had not experienced any storms. He wasn't like Li Yao. Her talent was very strong among the children of heaven and earth. She cultivated diligently and had obtained many opportunities on the way to the reroll world." Hanju said, "Go out and call the Black Hell Chicken in." Dao Comprehension Sword hurriedly stood up. Soon the Black Hell Chicken entered uneasily. It had never transformed and maintained its chicken form. Hanju was expressionless. 5 minutes later, the Black Hell Chicken was thrown out of the Khanate cave abode by him. Everyone turned around and laughed. All the Black Hell Chicken's feathers had been plucked. Under Hanju's dermic powers, it couldn't grow feathers for several days. Don't sow discord between fellow disciples. Otherwise, Hanju's voice sounded. Long Hao was embarrassed. He felt that his master was talking about him. Li Yao seemed to have thought of something and blushed. She secretly cursed Hanju for being too much. However, she was still very satisfied with his decision. She was also very annoyed by the Black Hell Chicken's instigation. She only wanted to cultivate well and not cause unnecessary trouble. She didn't want to have conflicts with others. The Black Hell Chicken was too ashamed to face anyone now. It was too shameful. It hid on the fusang tree and used the leaves to cover its body. In a forest, Morongqi Zhou-fan, Mo Fuzhou, and Fong Liang were cultivating. The demon bone tiger was guarding not far away. Gu Xian sat beside Fong Liang with her head lowered. Fong Liang opened his eyes and sighed. "Leave. Don't follow me. I won't marry again in my life. I only have the great Tao in my heart." In the mortal world, he had been hurt by women and was afraid. Gu Xian clutched her sleeves tightly and said in a low voice, "I don't know where to go." Morongqi snorted. "The world is vast. Where can't I go? Your father has already been killed by my brother. Even if you and my junior are together, there will be some conflict in your heart." He despised Gu Xian. This silly woman almost killed her sweetheart. She's already so old. It's impossible for her to not have any morals. In his opinion, Gu Xian was just afraid and avoiding reality. She didn't dare to go against her father and could only wait for tragedy to happen. Zhou Fan clicked his tongue in wonder. This content is taken from Light Novel World. For some reason he recalled his past self. However, he wasn't as determined and carefree as Fong Liang. Thinking of those people in the past, Zhou Fan sighed. Gu Xian pursed her lips, feeling extremely tormented. Fong Liang sighed. "Forget it. Bring her back to the heavenly court. At least there's a place to stay." Morongqi snorted, but did not continue to refute. Anyway, this was Fong Liang's private matter. Cultivate well when you return. You came out to mess around with such a cultivation level. If not for Grandmaster, you would already be dead. Morongqi said sternly. He was a senior in the first place. In addition to his memories from his previous life, he naturally treated Fong Liang like a junior. He really cared about him. Fong Liang said awkwardly, "It's indeed my fault. I especially troubled Grandmaster." He was flustered. When he woke up and heard that Hanju saved them, he was shocked and ashamed. In the end, he still caused trouble for Grandmaster. He had never repaid Hanju. Morongqi looked at Mo Fuzhou and asked, "What's next?" In the mortal world, the four of them had known each other, and even sparred and fought. They had also had conflicts. Of course, these were all interesting things in the past. To be able to meet an old friend in the immortal world felt like meeting an old friend in a foreign land. Continue wandering the world and make a name for myself. Zhou Fan smiled. His blood boiling. Mo Fuzhou smiled and nodded. The white-robed Buddha was about to explode. The white-robed Buddha was about to explode. Damn it! He actually made me wait for half a year. Even the Buddhas didn't dare to put on airs in front of him. The white-robed Buddha could only use the Buddhist scriptures to calm his mind. Finally, Hanju appeared in front of him and asked, "What is it?" The white-robed Buddha was meditating under a tree. He narrowed his eyes and asked, "What is fellow Taoist Sun Quan busy with? The heavenly secrets cannot be revealed." Looking at him, the white-robed Buddha didn't dare to vent his anger. Firstly, he couldn't win. Secondly, the heavenly emperor was standing above Hanju. The white-robed Buddha said helplessly, "Recently, the mortal world has been peaceful. Many prodigies have risen, but the rate of ascension is still too high. I want to leave them in the mortal world, but I can't force them." Hanju asked, "Why do you want them to stay in the mortal world? The more cultivators in the mortal world, the stronger the providence will be. It will then benefit the spirit chi of the world, and the entire world will become stronger. Our providence will also become stronger." The white-robed Buddha was direct and did not hide his selfish motives. Hanju said, "That's not good, right? Isn't this cutting off the heavenly court's new blood? Didn't the heavenly court rely on the mortal world to send in endless talents? There's nothing bad about it. Those powerful mortal worlds are almost comparable to the three realms. It's because they kept the geniuses around. You don't have to worry about the heavenly court. Most ascenders are also heavenly soldiers when they enter the court. It's even difficult for them to enter the court. The heavenly court is only in charge of the mortal world and does not rely on it," the white-robed Buddha said meaningfully. Hanju felt that it made sense. He subconsciously thought about the relationship between the heavenly court and the mortal world. For more, visit Light Novel World. The heavenly court needed providence, but it didn't rely on the providence of mortals. They could, but it was not necessary. Hanju said, "Then go ahead. I still have to cultivate. I'll leave these things to you. I can share the providence of the reroll world with you. As long as you don't become my enemy, I'll even welcome you to protect the world." White-robed Buddha's favorability towards you has increased. Current favorability, 3, 5 stars. Hanju was very satisfied with the notification. The white-robed Buddha smiled. "All right. After all, you're the guardian deity of this mortal world. I need your approval." Hanju asked, "When are you going to attain the Emperor realm?" The white-robed Buddha was stunned. He didn't expect Hanju to suddenly ask this question. He smiled bitterly and said, "How would I know? I've been preparing for tens of millions of years already." Sigh. Tens of millions of years? So long. Hanju was shocked. This was ridiculous. He suddenly realized that becoming an immortal emperor was even harder than he had imagined. Jiangyi was really terrifying. He ascended just like that. "What about you?" the white-robed Buddha asked. Hanju said, "Same here." With that, he vanished on the spot. The white-robed Buddha frowned. Hanju's words were filled with deep meaning. What did he mean by that? Were they about to reach the immortal emperor realm at the same time? Or was Hanju saying that he could live longer than him? Every time he saw Hanju, the white-robed Buddha would feel uneasy. Hanju was very dangerous and couldn't be provoked easily. After returning to the Cultivate Diligently Become Immortal mountain, Hanju gathered everyone and began to preach the Tao. This was the first time Li Yao attended his Tao lecture. She had always been curious about Hanju's cultivation. Visit Light Novel World. For the best novel reading experience. How Strong is Senior? After comprehending the great Tao of life and death, Hanju's Tao insight became even more profound. His voice was filled with Tao essence, causing everyone to quickly enter a state of Tao comprehension. This lecture lasted for half a year. Everyone more or less comprehended something. Legend had it that a long time ago, the Tao ancestor had preached the Tao for 30,000 years, causing the cultivation of the 3,000 unorthodox Tao to increase greatly, surpassing countless years of cultivation. The higher one's cultivation level was, the more important it was to preach and discuss the Tao. Because his understanding of the Tao had already reached the limit, he needed to fuse with the Tao of others and improve it further. After the lecture, Hanju allowed everyone to ask questions and answered them one by one. Li Yao's favorability towards you has increased. Current favorability 4, 5 stars. Li Yao admired Hanju. He really suited the image of an expert in her mind. Everything was perfect. He had no desires. Hanju looked at the 8 Calabash brothers. Apart from Han 8, the other brothers were very passionate. Han 8 was very shy and could blush easily when talking to others. The one who had the best relationship with Han 8 was the most extroverted Black Hell Chicken. However, the Black Hell Chicken was also a social recluse. It was afraid of going outside. Why do I feel that our hidden sect disciples have their own flaws? Hanju thought silently, and immediately got up to return to his cave abode, to continue cultivating Heavenly Court, Numinous Palace. The Heavenly Emperor looked at Morongchi and asked, "Have you really thought about it?" Morongchi's gaze was firm as he said, "Your Majesty, I'm willing to go to the chaotic Forbidden Region and sweep away all evil. I'll fight for the luck of the Heavenly Court, and also temper myself." He had been furious ever since he was saved by Hanju. He had to become stronger quickly. There couldn't be a next time. Hanju's appearance made him feel very embarrassed. He couldn't cause trouble for Grandmaster anymore. Apart from Morongchi, there was also the Divine General and the Demon Bone Tiger. Then go! The Heavenly Emperor waved his sleeve, and a strong wind blew towards Morongchi and the Demon Bone Tiger. A spatial crack appeared behind them and sucked them in. The Divine General asked, "How's Senior Tai-Bai?" The Heavenly Emperor said, "His soul is safe, but this matter cannot be forgiven. Led 100,000 heavenly soldiers and generals to the great desolate sacred dynasty, and demand an explanation. Tell them to give up chasing after Su Qi." The latest episodes are on the Light Novel World.com website. Understood. The Divine General turned around and left. The Heavenly Emperor frowned and sighed. The Jia school is really difficult to deal with. 20 years later, Hanju had already reached 2,349 years old. He was still comprehending the great Tao of life and death. The Emperor realm was still far away. He opened his eyes and frowned. How strange. I'm clearly becoming stronger. Why can't I reach the Emperor realm? Hanju hadn't been troubled by cultivation for a long time. Could it be that he really had to reincarnate and increase his providence? No. Reincarnation was too dangerous. Couldn't he just blend into the mortal world directly? Hanju thought silently. He felt that he could give it a try. Even if it didn't work, he would only waste decades. At least, there was no danger to his life. As Hanju thought, he took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing the enemy. In the blink of an eye, another half a year passed. Hanju was about to stand up and go out to look at the Fusang tree when a familiar and unfamiliar voice sounded. "Sima Yi, come out." Hanju showed a frown. Wasn't this Jiang Yi's voice? Hanju immediately checked the strongest person nearby. Jiang Yi. Cultivation unknown. Golden Crow Divine Clan prodigy. Hanju hesitated for a moment, but still went to the void to meet him. Jiang Yi and Divine Lord Wu De stood opposite each other. After not seeing each other for so many years, he looked even more high-spirited. When Divine Lord Wu De saw Hanju appear, he nodded at him before disappearing without a trace. Jiang Yi sized him up and clicked his tongue in wonder. "The aura of the great Tao. It seems that you've also begun to break through to the Emperor realm. Why do I feel that your talent is even more ferocious than mine?" Updated from Light Novel World.com. He could tell that Hanju was very young. Hanju shook his head and said, "How can I compare to you? You're the #1 in the world. You're unparalleled." When Jiang Yi heard that, the corners of his mouth curled up. He enjoyed it and said with a smile, "I came to find you this time because of something good. Read at Wuxia World. EU. What good news?" Hanju asked. What good news? Hanju asked. Was he going to invite him out again? Hanju was conflicted. He didn't want to take the risk. Jiang Yi said with a burning gaze. Recently, a legend has been spreading in the immortal world. Legend has it that the divine treasure of the Tao sect fell from the 33 heavens and was lost in the mortal world. Whoever obtains this treasure can step into the deity realm. Deity realm. Immortal emperors were top-notch experts in the immortal world, but deities were existences that couldn't be touched. Having just stepped into the emperor realm, Jiang Yi still yearned to reach a higher realm. Hanju smiled teasingly. There's only one treasure. How can we split it? Jiang Yi shook his head and said, Who said that there's only one? Even if there's only one, who said that only one person can use it? If you help me find this treasure, I'll help you reach the Emperor realm. Your cultivation should have stopped advancing. You can only continue to become stronger when you reach the Emperor realm. Hanju asked curiously, will no one's cultivation level increase after reaching the perfected Grand Unity Golden Immortal Realm? His cultivation had always been growing stronger, as if there was no end to it. He had found it strange before. Jiangyi said, of course. You've already reached the limits of immortal. How can your cultivation level increase? Unless you're... Forget it, there's no point in saying it. Tell me, did you write novels in the past? Hanju asked anxiously. Damn it. Why did he stop halfway? Jiangyi asked in surprise. What's a novel? It's not important. Hurry up and tell me. Unless you're a Khanate life form. Legend has it that before the divine investiture calamity, the immortal world was even vaster and boundless. It was a period without rules and immortals. After the divine investiture calamity, the Khanate life forms were almost extinct. The heavenly Tao became more and more perfect, and there were also many difficulties in cultivation. The founder of our Golden Crow divine clan is a Khanate life form. I see. According to ancient mythologies, the older the stronger. The stellar primordial body was definitely stronger than Khanate life forms. Updated from Light Novel World. In other words, endless cultivation improvement was a good thing. The stronger one's talent was, the greater the accumulation required for each cultivation realm. One had to make ample preparations. Talent was never just a matter of cultivation speed. Tell me quickly, what is a novel? Jiangyi asked. Hanju replied, it's a story. Jiangyi asked in surprise, I don't write stories. Very few people in the immortal world write stories. Yes, then it's fine. So you agreed? Thank you for your kind intentions. Sorry, I don't want to go, Hanju said apologetically. The deity realm was indeed attractive, but he didn't want to participate. Jiangyi frowned. Hanju rejected him again. This was the second time he had been rejected. He couldn't take it. He was the invincible prodigy of the Golden Crow divine clan. Who dared to not give him face? Jiangyi snorted. Sima-yi, don't you think too highly of yourself? I treated you sincerely, but you rejected me one time after another. Could it be that you looked down on me? Hanju waved his hand and said, how can that be? It's my fortune to befriend you, Jiangyi. It's just that I'm timid and afraid of death. I don't want to take the risk. Otherwise, why would I hide here and be a tiny mortal world guardian? Even the Heavenly Emperor invited me to ascend, but I've rejected him many times. I really don't want to take the risk. I just want to cultivate in peace. Hearing this, Jiangyi frowned and stared at him coldly. Hanju was nervous. Was this fellow going to attack? He wondered if he could withstand it. Should he admit defeat? No way. If he admitted defeat, his life would be over. He would be Jiangyi's dog in the future. Visit to Light Novel World. Discover new novels. Wait, what am I afraid of? I have a heavenly emperor above me. This was Heavenly Court's territory. Many thoughts flashed through Hanju's mind, and he became more confident. You can reject me. Then tell me a novel. If it can satisfy me, I'll leave. I heard that many storytellers in the mortal world tell stories about immortals. Jiangyi suddenly smiled. Hanju showed a frown. Tell a story. This was fine too. At least they could avoid conflict. Hanju immediately meditated, and Jiangyi sat down. After hesitating for a while, Hanju decided to tell the story of the Golden Crow. Legend has it that when the world first opened, all things were in chaos. All living beings were muddle-headed. In the distant sun, 2 golden crows were born. One was called Eastern Emperor Tai-yi, and the other was called Dijuan. Hanju started to tell the story. This was a primordial world novel he had read in his previous life. Jiangyi was expressionless. Hanju didn't notice his hands trembling in his sleeves. That era was called the primordial world. After the Eastern Emperor Tai-yi and Dijuan completed their cultivation, they left the sun and came to the primordial world. They used their absolute strength to unite all living beings on the ground and called them the demon race. Hanju became more and more excited as he spoke. He wasn't afraid of offending anyone. Even if the Eastern Emperor Tai Yi and Dijuan really existed, they were already gone. Even Hao Tian and the 12 ancestral magi were gone. How could these two supreme demons still be alive? He had previously asked Di Taibai if he knew anything about the primordial world. Di Taibai had replied that he did not. Perhaps the history of the immortal world was different from the Chinese legends, but it was definitely not the same. Jiang Yi was soon entranced. The more Hanju spoke, the more excited he became. Anyway, he was bragging about how impressive Eastern Emperor Tai Yi and Dijuan were. To avoid suspicion, he didn't mention the heavenly court. In the legends, the ones who created the heavenly court were the Dijuan and the Eastern Emperor. After the battle with the Magi, they perished together with the 12 ancestral Magi. The Tao ancestor reorganized the heavenly court and named Hao Tian the heavenly emperor, who later became the Jade Emperor. Of course, that was only a legend of the primordial world. It had nothing to do with this world. Visit Light Novel World. Com for the best novel reading experience. Hanju only finished after several hours. Jiang Yi sighed. Truly amazing demon emperors. They dared to fight with heaven and the sages. Even if they died, they fought to the end. Hanju said. They're indeed very heroic, but they went against the heavenly Tao. They created too many sins and couldn't reverse the situation. These words were to please the sages. Sages were supreme and might not care about the mortal world. But Hanju was afraid of what might happen. Jiang Yi nodded. He wasn't a bloodthirsty person. Hanju asked, Are you satisfied? Hearing this, Jiang Yi said meaningfully, I'm satisfied. Sima Yi, you're not simple. No wonder the heavenly emperor protected you. Then, he stood up and looked down at him. Your talent is not bad, but you're timid by nature and can't achieve great things. You can hide for a while, but you can't hide forever. One day, you'll have no choice but to come out. At that time, the people you left behind might have already begun to look down on you. As for me, I might have already forgotten about you. I'll be the Eastern Emperor Tai Yi in your story, and no one in the future will know you. With that, Jiang Yi vanished. Hanju cursed silently. How pretentious. So what if you're the Eastern Emperor Tai Yi? Go and die like him. I'm nameless, but I can live forever. In the primordial world, Tao ancestor Hong Jun had always been cultivating in a low-profile manner. After he survived the first calamity, he became the strongest in the primordial world. That was Hanju's goal. He didn't want fame because he wanted to live longer. After he became the strongest, he would also want fame. Hanju stopped thinking and returned to the Khanate cave abode. At this moment, Divine Lord Wuda slowly appeared. The story is indeed interesting. But why did he only talk about the demon court and not about our heavenly court? This child's awareness is not high. Divine Lord Wuda muttered to himself. Follow new episodes on the Light Novel World. Com platform. Read at Wuxia World. EU. After returning to the cave abode, Hanju immediately entered the simulation trial and fought the current Jiang Yi. He was insta-killed. After returning to the cave abode, Hanju immediately entered the simulation trial and fought the current Jiang Yi. He was insta-killed. Hanju was disappointed. Is this an immortal emperor? Amazing. Morongqi had fought so many immortal emperors alone. He was truly impressive. Hanju perked up and continued to comprehend the great Tao of life and death. He would use Jiang Yi as a standard in the future. Now that Hanju had a goal, his fighting spirit was ignited, and he became more energetic in his cultivation. Numinous Palace. The heavenly emperor sat on the emperor's throne and instructed, Divine General, go teach Jiang Yi a lesson. Treat it as a spar. The divine general immediately accepted the order and left. The heavenly emperor looked at the other person in the hall. The crown prince of the heavenly court. Long Jun, between you and Jiang Yi, who is more talented? The heavenly emperor asked. Long Jun said expressionlessly, we're on par. I became an emperor earlier than him. He's not my match for the time being. The heavenly emperor smiled in satisfaction. As expected of the son he valued the most, Long Jun asked curiously, Father, where did Hanju come from? The story he told was clearly about the Magus demon calamity. but he changed the character names. The Heavenly Emperor smiled. I can't tell you his background, but one thing is certain. His only backing now is the Heavenly Court. Long Jun was deep in thought. He continued. I heard that profound truth Divine Emperor has entered the Heavenly Court. Can you hand him to me? I'll help him quickly recover his cultivation from his previous life. At the mention of profound truth Divine Emperor, a strange light flashed in his eyes. Don't disturb him for the time being. He's in seclusion, the Heavenly Emperor said casually. The source of this chapter, Light Novel World. Long Jun looked regretful. The Heavenly Emperor smiled without saying anything. Profound truth Divine Emperor was truly a good signboard. Previously, Long Jun rarely returned to the Heavenly Court. Now it was obvious that he was coming back for the profound truth Divine Emperor. Divine Palace, I will devour you soon. The Heavenly Emperor's eyes flickered with ambition. In the blink of an eye, 50 years passed. Hanju's cultivation level kept increasing steadily. Today he challenged Jiang Yi and was finally not insta-killed. He could withstand 3 moves. Don't underestimate these 3 moves. There were no emotions in the simulation trial. They fought at full strength. He had to face Jiang Yi with all his might. Hanju was very satisfied with his progress. Perhaps when he reached a point where he could no longer strengthen himself, he would become an immortal emperor. How talented was Jiang Yi? If Hanju could fight Jiang Yi at the Golden Immortal Realm, he would be the strongest immortal emperor no matter how he stepped into the immortal emperor realm. Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune and started to celebrate. He checked his emails, wondering how his friends were doing. Your disciple Su Qi was abducted by a mysterious mighty figure. Your good friend Ji Xianxian has become a ghost deity. His cultivation has increased greatly. Your grand disciple Morong Qi was attacked by heavenly troops, X190421. Your grand disciple Fang Liang has comprehended the heavenly Tao and a cultivation technique. Your good friend Jiang Yi was attacked by your good friend Divine General. He was severely injured. Your enemy Nine-Tailed Demon Empress has lost 100,000 years of lifespan because of your curse. She has developed a mental demon. Your good friend Sword God Emperor was attacked by a true devil, X49. Hanju raised his eyebrows. Jiang Yi was injured by the Divine General? Visit Light Novel World. For a better user experience. Could it be that the Heavenly Emperor was helping him? Hanju's favorability with the Heavenly Emperor increased. His current favorability was 5 stars. He continued reading. Most of his friends were fine. They were doing well. He checked his interpersonal relationships and discovered that there were fewer portraits. They were from some low-level immortals from the Jade Pure Sacred Sect and the Heavenly Court. There were always deaths on the path of cultivation. Hanju was a little melancholic but not sad. The ones he paid special attention to were still alive. It was worth mentioning that Yang Tiandong's portrait was long gone. After reincarnation, without the memories of his previous life, his favorable impression of Hanju naturally disappeared. However, Hanju could sense the 6 paths insignia in his soul. Under Mengpo's arrangements, Yang Tiandong reincarnated in the reroll world and was born in the heavenly immortal manner. The top potential in the mortal world was really not worth mentioning. Mengpo waved her hand, and Yang Tiandong became a prodigy in the mortal world. This was also why most ascenders became mediocre after entering the immortal world. The geniuses of the mortal world and the geniuses of the immortal world were worlds apart. Several months later, Hanju put down the Book of Misfortune. He came to the 9 Heavens Galaxy Water. Ever since Li Yao came to the Cultivate Diligently Become Immortal Mountain, the 9 Heavens Galaxy Water no longer reflected her. Hanju began to look forward to it reflecting the next sun of heaven and earth. Master, I've mastered the 2nd level of the Heavenly Sword Tao. Can you teach me the 3rd level? Tao Comprehension Sword suddenly asked with anticipation. Hanju glanced at her. Her current realm had already reached the Mahayana realm, and she was only a step away from becoming a loose immortal. You can become a loose immortal first, Hanju said in a low voice. Tao Comprehension Sword nodded. Currently, the weakest person in the hidden sect was at the Mahayana realm, including Zhou Mingyue and the Black Hell Chicken. The reason why Dao Comprehension Sword's cultivation level was slow was that she was cultivating the heavenly sword Dao. It was all thanks to the spirit Qi on the Cultivate Diligently Become Immortal mountain that she could cultivate so quickly. It far exceeded any place in the world. The source of this chapter, Light Novel World. If Ji Xianxian was born on the Cultivate Diligently Become Immortal mountain, he would probably ascend to the perfected Mahayana realm in less than 500 years. Chu Shuren often skived and kept his cultivation level above Zhou Mingyue's. This made Zhou Mingyue very depressed. He always almost surpassed his master. The 8 Calabash brothers had already begun to break through to the Earth Immortal realm. The strongest was still Li Yao, followed by Long Hao, who was at the mid-stage Grand Unity Heaven Immortal realm. Han Ju was very satisfied with their cultivation speed. He returned to the bed to cultivate. On this day, Taoist 9 Cauldrons came to the Cultivate Diligently Become Immortal mountain and wanted to visit Han Ju, but he was stopped. Sect Master, you can tell us if you have anything to say, Sun Chang'an said. Taoist 9 Cauldrons was secretly shocked. What cultivation level was this kid at now? Why couldn't he see through it? The Jade Pure Sacred Sect is about to hold a Dao exchange meeting, and we plan to invite the cultivation world of the 10 states and 9 dynasties to participate. I wonder if Elder Han can participate? Taoist 9 Cauldrons asked shamelessly. Sun Chang'an shook his head, causing Taoist 9 Cauldrons' heart to skip a beat. Sun Chang'an said meaningfully, Sect Master, from now on, don't think about my master anymore. If the Jade Pure Sacred Sect is in trouble, we will help. Master won't make a move anymore. There are differences between mortals and immortals. His words almost suffocated Taoist 9 Cauldrons. He had guessed this before, so he didn't dare to disturb Han Ju. This time, the sect had begged him to come, so he had come under pressure. That's right. In the eyes of my master, all living beings in the mortal world are equal. Don't fawn on him in the future. The Black Hell Chicken smiled smugly. Taoist 9 Cauldrons was embarrassed and troubled. Sun Chang'an looked at Zhou Mingyue and said, Mingyue, represent our hidden sect to attend the Dao meeting. Zhou Mingyue frowned, but he didn't dare to refuse. After all, Sun Chang'an was a senior. Hidden sect. Taoist 9 Cauldrons caught this name. Elder Han had established his own sect. Taoist 9 Cauldrons felt uncomfortable. But on second thought, Elder Han was already extraordinary, and the hidden sect wouldn't be a mortal sect. His emotions became complicated. In the end, it turned into a sigh. Follow current novel on Light Novel World. He was suddenly confused. If he cultivated diligently like Han Ju, would he have also surpassed mortals now? Read at Wuxia World. EU. Inside the Khanate Cave Abode. Inside the Khanate Cave Abode, Han Ju felt the aura of Taoist 9 Cauldrons leaving and sighed slightly. He couldn't drive the Jade Pure Sacred Sect forward forever. He never owed them anything. The current Jade Pure Sacred Sect was even more foreign to him. His old friends were all gone. Li Qingzi was dead. Taoist Jingxu was also dead. Fairy Shixian was outside all year round. And her relationship with the Jade Pure Sacred Sect was also becoming thinner. Xing Hongxian and Chang Yuer were even more so. Time would erase many things, including feelings. This is what I have to give up to pursue the path of longevity. Han Ju thought silently, and his Dao heart became more determined. One day, perhaps even some disciples of the hidden sect would become more distant from him. No matter how dense the immortal Qi of the Cultivate Diligently Become Immortal mountain was, it was impossible for one to cultivate to the Emperor realm here. Even in the heavenly court, newcomers would take the place of old immortals. Han Ju continued cultivating and comprehending the great Tao of life and death. As his understanding of the great Tao of life and death deepened, he could also use it in battle. 10 years later, Han Ju could withstand 5 moves from Jiang Yi. 30 years later, Han Ju could last for 5 minutes. 50 years later, Han Ju could last for an hour. But he couldn't beat an immortal emperor in a battle of attrition. For 50 years, he had been cultivating in seclusion and did not curse any enemies. He enjoyed the feeling of becoming stronger. Visit Light Novel World. For a better user experience on this day. Liu Bei sent a telepathic message. Master, that fellow is here. Hanju opened his eyes, and his essence soul jumped into the Sword Dao River. From afar, he saw Liu Bei being blocked by two figures. This scene was a little like the scene of students getting bullied after school in his previous life. The moment he saw Hanju, Liu Bei heaved a sigh of relief and said, "The true master of the Sword Dao River is here." The two figures turned around. Hanju could see their true faces. A handsome youth in high spirits and a cold and calm middle-aged Taoist. "May I know what's the matter?" Hanju asked. At the same time, he controlled the Sword Dao River to isolate the four of them from the figures coming and going. Countless sword cultivators came to the Sword Dao River. If they saw them arguing, it would not be good. The middle-aged Taoist said, "I heard from my disciple that the Sword Dao River has a new master, and specially came to befriend him. May I know what relationship you have with Zhang Guxing?" Hanju replied, "He can be considered a good friend. If not for the fact that he had no choice, he wouldn't have handed me the Sword Dao River." The middle-aged Taoist nodded slightly. He had also heard of the grudge between Zhang Guxing and the Divine Palace. The handsome young man sized him up and smiled. "Senior, do you have a sect? If not, why don't you join our Jie school?" The reason why he had pestered Liu Bei in the past was that he felt that Liu Bei didn't have a powerful background. If the Jie school could control the Sword Dao River, they could establish a connection with many talented sword cultivators and help absorb an endless stream of sword cultivators. Hanju estimated that the middle-aged Taoist should be a Grand Unity Golden Immortal. The two of them couldn't make him nervous. Since that was the case, there was nothing to be afraid of. "I'm from the Heavenly Court," Hanju said bluntly. Their expressions changed slightly. Heavenly Court. Not long ago, the Jie school had attacked the Heavenly Court and was completely wiped out. This matter caused a huge blow to them, making many people realize that the era that belonged to the Jie school had long passed. The two of them fell silent. Hanju cautiously scanned the surroundings with his divine sense, in case enemies were lurking in the dark. "Let's go." The middle-aged Taoist waved his sleeve. The handsome youth wanted to say something but was pulled away. Updated at Light Novel World. They left just like that? Hanju showed a frown. Liu Bei heaved a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that they would fight. Hanju waited for a while, but didn't receive any hatred points. He chatted with Liu Bei for a while before returning to the Khanate cave abode. For some reason, Hanju felt uneasy. Recently, the Jie school had been too active. He could even encounter them in the Sword Dao River. Hanju thought for a moment, and took out the Heavenly Dao token to contact Di Tai Bai. His divine sense quickly established a connection. "How have you been, senior?" Hanju asked politely. Ever since Di Tai Bai was severely injured, they had not contacted each other. Di Tai Bai smiled and said, "Not bad. You haven't looked for me for a long time. When have you been recently?" Hanju didn't hide anything, and told him what happened. I didn't expect that the Jie school would still not give up. They actually targeted the Sword Dao River. How foolish." Di Tai Bai snorted with disdain. He consoled, "You don't have to worry. The Jie school is burdened with great karma. If they attack in the Sword Dao River, they will suffer heavenly punishment." "What great karma?" "In the past they ruled the immortal world. They had countless disciples of all races. They even wanted to control the worlds in the mortal world, and cause a huge war to trigger the immeasurable calamity. Countless living beings who died turned into karmic forces that tortured the Jie school for countless generations." Hanju felt his scalp tingle. Being tortured for countless generations was equivalent to countless living beings cursing the Jie school with the Book of Misfortune every day. Di Tai Bai continued, "Next, I will pressure the Jie school. They've just suffered greatly against the Heavenly Court, and don't dare to resist." Hanju was finally relieved. The two of them chatted for a while more before ending the conversation. Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing the enemies. 30 years later, Hanju's cultivation improved again, and he was now on par with Jiang Yi. Hanju could already be sure that it was harder for him to break through to the immortal emperor realm than others, but his upper limit would definitely be higher. He had yet to break through to the emperor realm. but he could already fight on par with an immortal emperor. Visit to Light Novel World. Discover new novels. In fact, his sparring partner was Jiang Yi. If it was another existence who had just entered the immortal emperor realm, he might be able to kill the guy. Hanju was looking forward to the effect of his continuous cultivation. He set a small goal. He wanted the strength to kill an immortal emperor before stepping into the emperor realm. Hanju felt that it was very possible. At this moment, 3 lines of words suddenly appeared in front of him. Detected that the providence of the heavenly court has transformed. You have the following choices. 1. Immediately ascend and join the heavenly court to share the providence. You can obtain a heavenly Tao spirit stone, a mystical power inheritance, and a supreme treasure. 2. Don't ascend for the time being. Avoid this opportunity, and you can obtain a great Tao fragment. Without another word, Hanju chose not to ascend and successfully obtained a great Tao fragment. Although he didn't understand what the heavenly court was doing, joining them would definitely cause endless trouble. He wanted to continue cultivating. The heavenly court is preparing to activate the heavenly cycle stars array and gather the providence of the heavenly Tao to help the immortals increase their cultivation level. You should come too. The heavenly emperor's voice entered his ears. Hanju hesitated for a moment and thought, Your Majesty, I'm going into seclusion, so I won't go to the heavenly court. Thank you for your kind intentions. Increasing your providence can help you find the emperor realm Tao. There's really no need. My cultivation can still become stronger. You can still become stronger? Wait. The heavenly emperor was shocked, and his tone changed. Hanju was shocked. Why are you so shocked? You have the aura of chaos in your body. Could it be that you have a chaotic physique? How is that possible? The heavenly emperor exclaimed. This was the first time Hanju heard him so surprised. Updated at Light Novel World. Hanju asked carefully. What's the chaotic physique? Read at Wuxia World. EU. The chaotic physique is a physique outside of the heavenly Tao. Before the heavenly Tao there was chaos. To be able to obtain a chaotic physique under the heavenly Tao, what's your background? The chaotic physique is a physique outside of the heavenly Tao. Before the heavenly Tao there was chaos. To be able to obtain a chaotic physique under the heavenly Tao, what's your background? The heavenly emperor's tone was solemn. The entire heavenly court didn't have anyone with the chaotic physique. I'm just an ordinary mortal. What background do I have? Is the chaotic physique very rare? Or am I the only one? This question was very important. The former represented strong opponents, while the latter represented invincibility. The divine palace has a chaotic physique. It can be said to be world-shattering. Millions of years ago, it shocked the myriad worlds. He's the main reason for the divine palace to exist today. The heavenly emperor said slowly, with an unfathomable tone. Divine palace again. Why did Hanju feel that the divine palace was the most impressive in the immortal world? There were all kinds of prodigies and all kinds of monsters. Hanju immediately said in his heart, One day, I will surpass that person in the divine palace and help the heavenly court become stronger. At this moment, he had to make his stand clear. Otherwise, it would attract the heavenly emperor's fear. The better the heavenly emperor treated him, the more ruthless he would be if he betrayed him. The heavenly emperor did not reply. Hanju was nervous. This was not the first time he had rejected the heavenly emperor. Would the heavenly emperor be angry? So be it if you don't come. If you said you had the chaotic physique earlier, I would have let Tai Bai give you a treasure. It's useful for your cultivation. The heavenly emperor snorted. Hanju quickly thanked him. The heavenly emperor didn't say anything else. Tao Comprehension Sword saw Hanju suddenly stand up and bow. She asked in surprise, Master, what are you doing? Hanju said, There are gods everywhere. I'm praying for them to protect me. Aren't you a god yourself? Do you have to provoke me? What do you mean? Say I was wrong 10,000 times. Updated at Light Novel World. Come hurry up. Otherwise get out. All right. Tao Comprehension Sword curled her lips in grievance and began to say over and over again that she was wrong. Hanju smiled in satisfaction. 3 years later, Tai Bai sent over a scroll of Tao technique. He didn't say much, and left after sending it over. Hanju held the scroll in his hand, and sat on the bed. There were no words on the scroll, and he needed to use his divine sense. Hanju probed the scroll with his divine sense. Boom! A memory surged into Hanju's mind like a river breaking through a dam. Heavenly Cycle Body Tempering Technique. This was a body tempering technique suitable for the chaotic physique. It was extremely profound, and could stimulate the potential of the chaotic physique. After a few days, Hanju finally sorted it out. He was very surprised. Good stuff. This cultivation technique did not require external forces. It used one's dermic powers to temper one's physique. Although the process was complicated, the prerequisite was simple. Hanju immediately started to cultivate the Heavenly Cycle Body Tempering Technique. It was very difficult to overcome the initial hurdle. Fortunately, he was very talented and only took half a year to succeed. The 6 paths dermic powers tempered the stellar primordial body, causing Hanju's aura to become extremely oppressive, startling Dao Comprehension Sword. She felt uncomfortable from the pressure. After suffering for a period of time, Dao Comprehension Sword couldn't take it anymore, and chose to leave the cave abode. Tu Linger hadn't gone out recently. Seeing her come out, she asked curiously, "Why did you come out?" Dao Comprehension Sword. Dao Master seems to be breaking through. The pressure inside is too strong. I can't withstand it. Breakthrough? The others opened their eyes. Why did it feel like Hanju was always breaking through? Longhao sighed. Master is really powerful. I feel afraid every time I face him. Ever since Hanju pulled him into the void to teach him a lesson, he had been very afraid of him. Try the light novel world. Calm platform for the most advanced reading experience. Ha ha ha. Master might have surpassed the immortal god realm already. The black hell chicken said smugly, as if it was the one breaking through and not Hanju. The others sighed. At the same time, far above the 9 heavens of the immortal world, the Heavenly Emperor smiled. Good kid. It's really the chaotic physique. The Heavenly Court is really going to rise now. The Heavenly Emperor muttered to himself as his smile grew wider. How many years had it been? He had finally waited for such a prodigy. Every time he heard about the shocking battle achievements of the geniuses of the Divine Palace, he would appear indifferent on the surface, but he was extremely envious inside. Although the Divine General was mighty, he was still inferior to a certain monster of the Divine Palace. For example, the profound truth Divine Emperor wasn't the strongest in the Divine Palace, but he could make the Divine General and Long Jun worship him. This could show the difference between the two factions. The foundation of the Heavenly Court was stronger. It had the 4 extreme emperors, the 24 stellar lords, and other ancient gods guarding it. However, the future potential of the Divine Palace was greater. They had countless geniuses. The Heavenly Emperor was extremely happy when he thought of Hanju's growth. He immediately summoned Ditai Bai. Soon, Ditai Bai arrived at the Heavenly Emperor Palace. The Heavenly Emperor instructed, "Think of a way to increase the providence and strength of the reroll world. I want to make it one of the top 50 mortal worlds on the Heavenly Dao tablet." Ditai Bai was stunned and said in surprise, "Your Majesty, won't this destroy the balance?" The reroll world had risen too quickly. Most importantly, Hanju was completely indifferent. Why would he do so much for a mortal guardian? Geniuses need fame. He also needs to do something for the Heavenly Court in return. The Heavenly Emperor said calmly. Ditai Bai immediately smiled as if he understood. 10 years later, Hanju's stellar primordial body had transformed. His dermic powers were tempering his physique and becoming stronger at the same time. He even felt that the Heavenly Cycle Body Tempering Technique was stronger than the 6 paths of reincarnation technique. Of course, the Heavenly Cycle Body Tempering Technique was only suitable for the chaotic physique. It couldn't produce dermic powers, and could only allow the dermic powers to increase on their own. Visit Light Novel World. For the best novel reading experience. Hanju began the simulation trial and fought Jiang Yi. 2 hours later, Hanju opened his eyes. Although he was still defeated, he clearly felt that Jiang Yi was no longer invincible. He surpassed him halfway through the battle, He was another step closer to insta-killing Jiang Yi. Satisfied, Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing the enemy. Ever since Su Qi left the Great Desolate Sacred Dynasty, Hanju couldn't be bothered to curse the entire dynasty. But he didn't forget the nine-tailed demon empress, the demon emperor, the heavenly rage Buddha, Yu Tianbao, and the other enemies. However, in the past few years, no enemies had been cursed to death by him. He still had some regrets. Hanju cursed as he checked his emails regularly. Nothing major had happened recently. It was quite peaceful. Pretty good. Hanju's wish was world peace. Several months later, Hanju put down the Book of Misfortune and called Tao Comprehension Sword in. He was about to speak when he felt something and hurriedly took out the heavenly Tao token. The token heated up again and trembled. Hanju was speechless. He threw the heavenly Tao token aside and let it shake. It was probably the old heavenly emperor messing with him. He wanted to raise the ranking of the reroll world and attract powerful enemies to him so that he could help resolve the problem. Hanju wasn't too conflicted about this, especially since he had just obtained the heavenly cycle body tempering technique. He really should contribute to the heavenly court. As long as it was not an immortal emperor, he could do anything. If an immortal emperor came, and the heavenly emperor didn't help, he could only run. His life was the top priority, everything else was second place. Hanju thought silently. Master, the Fusang tree's branches began shaking half a year ago. Tao Comprehension Sword said solemnly. She wanted to come in half a year ago, but Hanju didn't say anything. She was afraid of being hurt by his pressure, so she kept waiting. Follow current novel on Light Novel World. Hanju showed a frown. Tao Comprehension Sword continued. The Black Hell Chicken, Ada and Xiao Air are all on the tree, but it's useless. Read at Wuxia World. EU. Hanju brought Tao Comprehension Sword out of the Khanate cave abode and arrived in front of the Fusang tree. He discovered that the branches of the Fusang tree were shaking violently. More than one branch was shaking. Hanju brought Tao Comprehension Sword out of the Khanate cave abode and arrived in front of the Fusang tree. He discovered that the branches of the Fusang tree were shaking violently. More than one branch was shaking. Hanju pinched his fingers to deduce who was shaking the Fusang tree. Soon, he saw a sinister dragon head roaring at him, interrupting his deduction. Dragon? No. Like a dragon but not a dragon. What was the Fusang tree attracting? Hanju continued to deduce. Just like before, he was snapped by the mysterious dragon head. Forget it. I'll deal with whatever comes my way. Hanju shook his head. He couldn't be bothered to think about it. If an immortal emperor attacked, the heavenly emperor would definitely come. Anyone below the immortal emperor realm would be killed. Khanate suddenly came in front of Hanju and bowed respectfully. Master, I can feel that the Fusang tree is panicking. You can sense its emotions? Hanju asked curiously. Although the Fusang tree had been growing, it had not developed intelligence. Khanate nodded. Hanju smiled and said, Then think of a way to comfort it. Don't worry. No matter who comes, they won't be able to harm it. With that, he turned around and left. To the 8 Calabash brothers, the Fusang tree was equivalent to their mother. They were born from it. The others discussed again. There was an example before. If the Fusang tree shook, it would definitely attract the enemy. Ade and Xiao Air were attracted by the Fusang tree and almost died in Hanju's hands. They were still terrified when they recalled it. After returning to the cave abode, Hanju continued to cultivate the heavenly cycle body tempering technique. Several years later, Hanju was 2,500 years old. This was considered his birthday. Deciding to celebrate, he took out the Book of Misfortune. The source of this chapter, Light Novel World. The Fusang tree wasn't shaking as violently as before, but it still shook from time to time. Hanju cursed as he checked the experts near the reroll world. He was surprised to discover that Divine Lord Wuda had left. Apart from that, no enemies had infiltrated the reroll world for the time being. Hanju continued cultivating after cursing all the enemies. On the other side, in a temple, The white-robed Buddha was meditating and reciting the scriptures. His expression changed from painful to cheerful and sinister at times. After a long while, he suddenly opened his eyes and exhaled. He frowned and gritted his teeth, cursing, "Damn it! This devil heart can't be dispersed at all. Is Buddha suspecting me again?" The white-robed Buddha felt uneasy. He adjusted his emotions and continued cultivating. He didn't notice when a ball of invisible black chi descended from the sky and entered the top of his head. In the blink of an eye, another 50 years passed. With the help of the heavenly cycle body tempering technique, Hanju's body kept growing stronger, and his dermic powers increased exponentially. In the simulation trial, Hanju fought for 2 hours before finally killing Jiang Yi. He was extremely excited. Jiang Yi was an immortal emperor. The next time he saw him, he didn't have to be so humble. Hanju was satisfied. He was very much looking forward to stepping into the immortal emperor realm. He could kill an immortal emperor before he even became one. How powerful would he be when he reached the emperor realm? Even Hanju himself found it terrifying. Hanju habitually checked the world, and suddenly saw a message: visit Light Novel World. Com for a better user experience, Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil, Cultivation Unknown. From the Chaos Unknown cultivation level? Immortal Emperor. Shocked, Hanju hurriedly used the simulation trial. A second later, he opened his eyes with a strange expression. This Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil was actually in the form of a remnant soul. It couldn't withstand a single blow from him. What happened? How dare he barge into the reroll world? Hanju immediately checked his location. He discovered that the Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil was actually on the white-robed Buddha. The white-robed Buddha was in seclusion, but his face was dark, and there was a murderous aura between his brows. Something was wrong. Was he being possessed? Hanju immediately stood up and moved to the white-robed Buddha's temple. He directly broke through the restriction in the temple and arrived in front of the white-robed Buddha. He raised his hand and used the 6 paths soul absorption technique, wanting to suck the Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil out. "What are you doing?" A voice followed, filled with fear. Hanju ignored him and forcefully sucked the Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil out. As the ball of black gas flew out of the white-robed Buddha's body, it turned into black mist and exploded, filling the temple. Hanju clearly felt a terrifying killing intent envelop him. He stomped his right foot and executed the reincarnation sword intent to disperse it. He then used the 6 paths soul absorption technique again and sucked it into the depths of his essence soul. The countless stars of the stellar primordial body burst forth with terrifying dermic powers, turning into chains that bound the Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil. "Who are you? What are you doing? Let me go." Hanju ignored the Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil's roar and looked at the white-robed Buddha. The black aura dissipated, and the white-robed Buddha revealed himself. His complexion began to recover. The white-robed Buddha slowly opened his eyes and was shocked when he saw Hanju. "Who are you?" Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil asked angrily. Hanju asked, "If you don't answer, you can die." "Who are you?" Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil asked angrily. Hanju asked, "If you don't answer, you can die." The billions of stars in the depths of his soul began to tremble, emitting a terrifying pressure that drowned out the Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil. "Wait! I'll talk! I'll talk!" Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil shouted in horror, trembling in fear. Hanju retracted his pressure and stared at the Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil. "Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points: 3 stars. Hanju looked at the aggro notification in front of him and waited for the Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil to speak. Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil calmed down and said, "I'm from the Heavenly Court." Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil. Hanju suddenly shouted, scaring him. Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil was shocked. How did this person know his name? Hanju silently pulled out his interpersonal relationships and checked the Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil's origin. Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil, Cultivation Unknown. comes from the chaotic forbidden zone. The devil race of the ancient era was defeated in the immeasurable calamity, and then expelled from the heavenly Tao. Later, in another immeasurable calamity, they were summoned by the Buddhist sect. The primordial chaos heavenly devil is connected to the white-robed Buddha's devil heart. Because the white-robed Buddha is about to become an emperor, he came from beyond the heavens and wanted to possess him. Because you stopped this, he is filled with hatred towards you. Current hatred points. 5 stars. It was really the devil race. Ancient devils? Why did it feel like the Buddhist sect was the major villain? The Grand Buddha was actually a devil in disguise? Primordial chaos heavenly devil said through gritted teeth. I came from the chaotic forbidden zone. I was summoned by the Buddhist sect's devil heart, and avoided the heavenly secrets to arrive in the mortal world. Hanju listened patiently. The information was similar to what he had seen using the system. Hanju asked, what's the relationship between the Buddhist sect and the devil race? Primordial chaos heavenly devil said, I'm not sure either. Ever since my consciousness was born, I've been floating alone in the chaotic forbidden zone, waiting for the devil heart to summon me. The ancestor left me very few memories, and only told me to wait. There are countless other heavenly devils like me. Countless? No wonder it became a forbidden zone. Hanju thought silently. Let me go. I won't return again. Primordial chaos heavenly devil said solemnly. He didn't sound like a prisoner at all. Hanju said faintly, you're full of hatred towards me. It's very difficult for me to let you go. New novel chapters are published here, Light Novel World. Calm Impossible. You didn't kill me. How can I hate you? But I can feel it. Primordial chaos heavenly devil panicked. Why was this person so difficult to deal with? Hanju was also hesitating about how to deal with this fellow. Should he directly kill, or keep him for future use? Primordial chaos heavenly devil has a favorable impression of you. Current favorability, 1 star. Hanju looked at the message that suddenly appeared in front of him, and couldn't help but be stunned. What a talent! Primordial chaos heavenly devil said. I don't have any hatred towards you now. I'm even grateful. He sounded very firm. Hanju remained silent. Primordial chaos heavenly devil looked calm, but he was panicking. Primordial chaos heavenly devil's favorability towards you has increased. Current favorability, 2 stars. This fellow is toxic. Hanju still couldn't trust him completely. This change in emotions was too fast and dangerous. You should stay here and reflect. With that, Hanju withdrew his consciousness. With the stellar primordial body restricting the primordial chaos heavenly devil, let alone possessing him, the primordial chaos heavenly devil had no chance of escaping. Hanju opened his eyes and discovered something. It was too easy for him to absorb the primordial chaos heavenly devil. It was as if he was holding chopsticks. If it was really that simple, would the white-robed Buddha be affected? Was he too strong? He thought carefully, and felt that it might be because of the stellar primordial body. The most up-to-date novels are published here, Light Novel World. Calm ever since he had cultivated the heavenly cycle body tempering technique, he could clearly sense the terror of his body. Everything in the world seemed fragile in his perception. Even without using his dermic powers, he could shatter the entire mortal world with a single palm. Hanju expelled Tao Comprehension Sword and asked, Is the Heavenly Emperor here? After a while, the Heavenly Emperor's voice sounded. What is it? Do you know the relationship between the Buddhist sect and the devil race? Oh, why do you ask? Hanju didn't hide anything, and revealed the matter about the primordial chaos heavenly devil and the white-robed Buddha. The Heavenly Emperor did not reply immediately. Hanju waited patiently. After a while, the Heavenly Emperor said, This matter cannot be spread. I actually already know about the Buddhist sect being corroded by the devils. Even the Divine Palace and the Demon Court know. This is also the reason why the devils can survive until now. Hanju asked in surprise. Why didn't the 3 forces join forces to eradicate the Buddhist sect? There are sages in the Buddhist sect, and there's more than one. Hanju remained silent. I see, the Heavenly Emperor said. It's not only the Buddhists. The Demon Court, the Divine Palace, and even the Heavenly Court all hide unimaginable powers. This is also the reason why the four factions suppressed the immortal world. When you reach the deity realm, you will understand everything. Deity realm. Hanju was secretly shocked. He had to be careful in the future. He had to hide when he reached the deity realm. Otherwise, trouble would follow. How's your cultivation? The Heavenly Emperor asked. Not bad. Thank you for the treasure, Your Majesty. Yes, cultivate well and strive to surpass Jiangyi as soon as possible. It's difficult, but I'll try. After the conversation ended, Hanju called Dao Comprehension Sword back in and continued cultivating. On the other side, try the light novel world. Calm platform for the most advanced reading experience. In a huge golden palace, the heavenly Tao Buddha slowly opened his eyes and observed the myriad worlds in the universe. Sensing something, he said faintly, "White-robed Buddha, you betrayed me and the Buddhist sect in the end. Forget it." He raised his hand and struck out a Buddhist seal, quickly rushing out of the hall. Before long, a burly figure emitting a golden light entered the hall. In the golden light, his figure was domineering. His true appearance could not be seen, but behind him, a huge pillar that far exceeded his size could be seen. Victorious fighting Buddha, White-robed Buddha and Supreme Buddha have betrayed the Buddhist sect. I'll send you to exterminate them. Heavenly Tao Buddha instructed, his voice resounding in the hall like a bell. The victorious fighting Buddha said in a low voice, "Amitba." With that, he turned around and left, quickly disappearing from the hall. He didn't even ask why or where they were. Heavenly Tao Buddha slowly closed his eyes. 30 years went by. Hanju's cultivation increased greatly. It took him less than an hour to kill Jiangyi now. His dermic powers were several times stronger than before. The billions of stars in the depths of his soul lit up, as the great Tao of life and death filled them. Hanju now grasped the power of the great Tao of life and death. After injecting his dermic powers into it, his lethality increased greatly. Not only that, but Hanju also felt a ball of qi in his body. This qi was very similar to the qi in the Heaven Mending Stone's body, but also slightly different. Chaotic qi. Hanju couldn't help but think of what the Heavenly Emperor had said. He looked forward to his future even more. Just as he was fantasizing, the white-robed Buddha's voice sounded. "Senior, can you come out and talk?" Hanju showed a frown. What did this fellow want now? After thinking about it, Hanju still decided to go out and meet him. Visit Light Novel World. Calm for a better reading experience, he came to the forest and saw the white-robed Buddha. After the primordial chaos, Heavenly Devil was sucked away. The white-robed Buddha regained his former glory and became even more handsome. Read at Wuxia World. EU. What is it? Hanju stared at the white-robed Buddha and asked. He carefully sized him up and felt that his cultivation level had increased. What is it? Hanju stared at the white-robed Buddha and asked. He carefully sized him up and felt that his cultivation level had increased. He had to try the simulation trial when he returned. It had been too long since he had been taken seriously. He didn't want to be overtaken by this fellow. The white-robed Buddha said nervously, "The victorious fighting Buddha is coming to kill me and your grand disciple." Victorious fighting Buddha? Hanju's expression turned strange, and he asked, "Sun Wukong? What's Sun Wukong?" "Oh, is the victorious fighting Buddha very strong?" "Very strong. He's the leader of the younger generation of the Buddhist sect. He became an immortal emperor at 1,000,000 years old." 1,000,000 years old is still considered young? Of course. In short, he's very strong. I can't defeat him. The Supreme Buddha is now a reincarnated person, so he can't defeat him either. Hanju fell into deep thought. The white-robed Buddha asked nervously, "Can you ask the Divine General to help? Otherwise, the two of us won't be able to stop him." The mention of the victorious fighting Buddha terrified him. Hanju asked in surprise, "Is he really that terrifying?" Yes. Previously, in the Battle of Buddhism, he defeated 1,000 bodhisattvas and dozens of Buddhas. In the end, he was defeated by the Buddha ancestor. Yes, I understand. Go back and cultivate. Thank you. The white-robed Buddha heaved a sigh of relief. Hanju returned to the Khanate cave abode. He first came to a simulation trial with the white-robed Buddha. Instant kill. Sigh. It was meaningless. Hanju chased Tao Comprehension Sword out and called the Heavenly Emperor to tell him about the victorious fighting Buddha. I understand. I'll get the Divine General to stop him. Thank you, Your Majesty. Hanju thanked him and took out the Book of Misfortune to curse the enemy. The Heavenly Emperor shouldn't be able to see the scene in the Cultivate Diligently Become Immortal mountain. Otherwise, when Hanju cursed the immortal gods, he would have long been furious. The source of this chapter, Light Novel World. If Hanju didn't mention him, he probably wouldn't be able to contact him directly. Hanju couldn't understand this method for the time being. He called Tao Comprehension Sword back in and continued cultivating. 7 years later, an old friend came to visit him, Elder Huang Zuantian of the Jade Pure Sacred Sect, who was once the sect master of the Raincoat Sect, was sent by Hanju to be a spy in the Nine Dragons Sect. In the end, he directly seized the position. Hanju hesitated for a moment, but still let him into the cave abode. No matter what, Huang Zuantian was still his subordinate. He had joined the Jade Pure Sacred Sect to please him. Huang Zuantian knelt in front of Hanju excitedly and kowtowed several times. Tao Comprehension Sword looked at him curiously. To be able to make Hanju make an exception to receive him. Who was this person? Senior, I've already reached the Mahayana realm. Can I join the hidden sect? I can put down everything, including my authority in the Jade Pure Sacred Sect. I've already contributed enough to the sect, more than the sect master, Shaoyi and Lu Bumi. Huang Zuantian asked carefully. Hanju stared at him and didn't say anything. Thinking about it carefully, Huang Zuantian was also a talent. Hanju said, "Do you want to serve me or cultivate on the Cultivate Diligently Become Immortal mountain?" Huang Zuantian was stunned. "Of course I want to serve you." Hanju nodded and smiled. "You can cultivate outside. In 100 years you will ascend. At that time I have a mission for you." Huang Zuantian was pleasantly surprised and hurriedly thanked him. After he left the cave abode, Tao Comprehension Sword asked curiously, "Is his potential very strong? It feels average." The Mahayana realm disciples of the hidden sect weren't as weak as Huang Zuantian. He has something outstanding about him. It has nothing to do with cultivation, Hanju said softly before closing his eyes. Tao Comprehension Sword was even more curious. Hanju stopped thinking about Huang Zuantian and focused on his cultivation. As Hanju cultivated the heavenly cycle body tempering technique for longer and longer, not only did his cultivation level increase, but he also felt that the stellar primordial body was changing to be precise. It was awakening. Somehow, he felt like he was approaching a mysterious door. Once he opened that door, he might break through or receive an explosive increase in strength. If he wanted to open this door, he had to fill every star in his body with dermic powers. That day was not far away. In high spirits, Hanju continued cultivating. This content is taken from Light Novel World. Calm in a dark palace, the Sword God Emperor sat on a mat. His expression was slightly pale, as he looked at the kneeling man with a complicated gaze. "Su Qi, it's good that you're back," the Sword God Emperor said insincerely. Su Qi sighed. "I've been hunted by the great desolate sacred dynasty all these years, so I couldn't return immediately. I hope that Palace Master won't blame me." "How can that be? As long as you enter my divine palace, you will always be part of it." The Sword God Emperor smiled, but he was very annoyed inside. The great desolate sacred dynasty was too weak. They actually let Su Qi run back. Previously, on account of Hanju, he had accepted Su Qi. He discovered that Su Qi's bad luck was indeed terrifying and could easily harm the disciples around him. Therefore, he had sent him out on missions. Thanks to the blessing of heaven, the grand desolate sacred dynasty had courted death by suppressing Su Qi. Unfortunately, after so many years he had returned. The Sword God Emperor had a headache. How should he deal with him? "Palace Master, can I enter seclusion next?" Su Qi looked up and asked. The Sword God Emperor smiled. Of course. That was the best answer he could hear. The two of them exchanged a few pleasantries before Su Qi left. The Sword God Emperor was about to cultivate when a voice sounded in the hall. "The Golden Crow Divine Clan's Jiang Yi is here to cause trouble again. Sword God Emperor, go teach him a lesson." The sword god emperor frowned. He cursed in his heart. Why was the Golden Crow divine clan so difficult to deal with? Didn't they reach a compromise previously? Why was he here again? Every time he came, he would have to face him, causing him to suffer. The sword god emperor sighed and stood up obediently. 20 years later, most of the stars in Hanju's body were filled with dermic powers. He was getting closer and closer to his limits. He took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing the enemies while checking his emails. Your good friend Sword God Emperor was attacked by your good friend Jiang Yi. Both sides were injured. Your grand disciple Fang Liang was chosen by a mighty figure to obtain the inheritance. Follow new episodes on the light novel world.com platform. Your good friend Zhou Fan was attacked by a cultivator and was severely injured. Your good friend Ji Xianxian was attacked by evil ghosts X259972. Your good friend Huang Jihao was attacked by demons X287430. Your divine pet, the chaotic heavenly dog, has ascended. Your divine pet, the chaotic heavenly dog, was attacked by a mighty figure and was captured. Your good friend Divine General was attacked by a mighty figure and was severely injured. Hanju frowned. That damn dog actually ascended and got caught. To be labeled as a mighty figure by the system, he had to be an immortal emperor. There was also the Divine General who was severely injured. Could it be that he was injured by the victorious fighting Buddha? Hanju immediately became nervous. Was the victorious fighting Buddha so strong? Even the Divine General could not defeat him? Hanju frowned even more. Although he was flustered, Hanju didn't stop what he was doing. He prepared to add the victorious fighting Buddha to the curse list. In order to cause trouble, he cursed the victorious fighting Buddha for 10 days, losing 100 years of his lifespan. His heart ached. After cursing, Hanju continued cultivating. He wanted to become an immortal emperor as soon as possible. This way, he would have the strength to fight the victorious fighting Buddha. Even if he couldn't win, he could at least escape. Half a year later, he heard a familiar voice. Sima Yi, come out and tell me a story. You can find the rest of this content on the Light Novel World.com platform. Read at Wuxia World. EU. Jiang Yi, why was this dog here again? Hanju frowned and silently recorded his cultivation again. He would use it in the simulation trial in the future. He stood up and headed into the void. Dressed in a golden robe, Jiang Yi was meditating and recuperating. Hanju clearly felt that his aura was unstable. The sword god emperor was really something. Thinking of him, Hanju sighed. This good friend was too pitiful. From time to time, he would be severely injured. Hanju said angrily, "Who do you think I am? You can listen to stories whenever you want to?" Jiang Yi said weakly, "I'm dying. Quick, tell me a story, help me breathe again." Hanju pondered. Should he take his life while he was weak? It would be better than getting pestered all the time. Sigh, Divine Palace's sword god emperor is really strong. Although he stepped into the emperor realm earlier than me, I can't defeat him. Jiang Yi sighed, but his face was filled with smugness. The sword god emperor was a famous expert who shocked the world. Hanju chuckled. I can kill you even before I reach the emperor realm. Hanju suddenly thought of a bold idea. He smiled teasingly. Let me tell you the story of a prodigy. Prodigy? Jiang Yi replied. Go ahead. Hanju sat in front of him and said slowly. Legend has it that Niwa mended the heavens. Sun Wukong. Hanju planned to tell Jiang Yi the story of Sun Wukong. He used all sorts of exaggerated descriptions to describe Sun Wukong's aptitude and heroism. Soon Jiang Yi was entranced. The most up-to-date novels are published here. Light Novel World. After several hours, Hanju finished retelling the journey to the west. Just like that, the insufferably arrogant great sage rivaling heaven became the victorious fighting Buddha of the Buddhist sect. There was no longer the wild and beautiful monkey king in the world. The Buddhist sect now had a loyal sigh. Hanju sighed in sadness. Jiang Yi was extremely displeased and said, You call this a prodigy? If it were me, I would rather die than submit. So the victorious fighting Buddha has such a background. No wonder he's so warlike. His nature is demonic. Hanju felt that he had done enough. He couldn't help but ask, What? You know the victorious fighting Buddha? Jiang Yi snorted. I've heard of him. Then who's stronger? You definitely can't defeat the victorious fighting Buddha. Impossible. We've never fought. If we meet, I'll make him kneel and beg for mercy, just like how he begged Tang Sung for mercy. Jiang Yi was annoyed and looked at Hanju fiercely. Do you not believe in my strength? Shall we fight? Hanju secretly felt disdain. I'm afraid that your Tao heart will shatter. He pretended to be afraid and waved his hand. How can I be your match? If you have the ability, go and challenge the victorious fighting Buddha. If you can defeat him, I can tell you stories whenever you want. Before he could insta-kill Jiang Yi, Hanju did not want to reveal his strength. He wanted to secretly cultivate and scare him to death. Just wait. After I recover, I'll challenge the victorious fighting Buddha. Jiang Yi said unhappily. Ever since he stepped into the Emperor realm, he had been arrogant and felt that he was invincible. In the end, he encountered the sword god Emperor and was already in a bad mood. Now that he was provoked by Hanju, how could he stand it? The victorious fighting Buddha has recently come to the heavenly court. Although you're playing tricks, I'll prove it to you. Jiang Yi snorted and closed his eyes to continue recuperating. He actually guessed his intention. Hanju smiled silently and left. It wasn't that geniuses like Jiang Yi didn't like to use their brains, but there was no need. After returning to the Khanate cave abode, Hanju immediately entered the simulation trial. An hour later, Hanju still killed Jiang Yi. He was dissatisfied. Too long. Indeed, Jiang Yi was also improving. Visit Light Novel World. Calm for a better user experience. Hanju felt a sense of urgency and couldn't relax. He was becoming stronger, and so was everyone else. He had to maintain his speed of becoming stronger than everyone else. Only then would he be safe. 5 years later, Jiang Yi left. Hanju couldn't help but look forward to the battle between Jiang Yi and the victorious fighting Buddha. He continued cultivating. Only 10% of the stars were still not filled with dermic powers. In the blink of an eye, another 20 years passed. Hanju finally filled the billions of stars in his body with dermic powers. His dermic powers rumbled, scaring the imprisoned primordial chaos, heavenly devil so much that he screamed. Quiet! I'm not killing you. Hanju's voice sounded, scaring the primordial chaos heavenly devil so much that he shut up. Hanju continued to sense the stellar primordial body. All the stars activated their dermic powers, causing his body to emit a blinding light. Tao Comprehension Sword was shocked. This is... Tao Comprehension Sword was surprised. That long-awaited pressure appeared again, even stronger than before. She immediately fled the Khanate cave abode. Hanju entered a state of epiphany. His consciousness traveled through his body, sweeping through each star at an extremely fast speed. There were no living beings on these stars. Only endless dermic powers formed a storm that swept through the interior of the stars. It was magnificent and vast, like the end of the world. As Hanju passed by the stars, his dermic powers connected them together into lines. From a macro point of view, these lines of stars gradually formed a magnificent picture. It was an extremely profound picture, like a battlefield, but also like high mountains and flowing rivers. It was ever-changing and dazzling. Hanju was immersed in it. Somehow he heard the voice of the great Tao. It was as if a sage was preaching to him, causing his comprehension and essence soul to be elevated. Some time passed. Perhaps 100 years, or perhaps an instant. New chapters are published on Light Novel World. Calm when Hanju woke up again. It was as if a lifetime had passed. Congratulations on having an epiphany of Tao insight. The system has begun to upgrade. A line of words appeared in front of Hanju. He ignored it and continued to comprehend the Tao insight brought by the stellar primordial body. What was a star? It was everything. It included everything. A world was only one of the stars. The sea where the stars gathered was the entire heavenly Tao, including the great Tao. Hanju's consciousness came to a vast and dark world again, like the beginning of chaos. A huge door appeared in the boundless fog ahead. It stood towering and high up. The door was engraved with mysterious symbols that were difficult to understand. When Hanju approached it, It emitted a dazzling golden light and stirred up a terrifying wind, wanting to stop him. Hanju continued forward. Are you really going to push it open? A voice suddenly sounded, extremely loud and shocking. Hanju said, Why not? The loud voice replied, Once you push it open, there will be no salvation. Even reincarnation will not be able to save you. I want eternal life, not reincarnation. Aren't you afraid of trouble? There will be endless trouble coming for you. I'm afraid of trouble, but I'm only afraid of problems that will affect my eternal life. If I face a problem brought about by immortality, I'll cut it down with my sword. After answering, Hanju had already arrived at the door. He raised his right hand and pressed it on the huge door. It wasn't as stable as he had imagined. It was very light and could be pushed away with a light push. Hanju pushed firmly without hesitation. Boom! The huge door opened, and golden light shone on Hanju. He felt warm all over and couldn't see clearly. But at this moment, an unprecedented memory surged into his mind, causing his consciousness to go blank. On the other side, this content is taken from Light Novel World. Calm in a dark hall, an ancient bell floating in midair suddenly rang by itself. The bell sounded vast as it echoed. Read at Wuxia World. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.